Get into that. This broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. The broadcast is available on Bunge TV as well as KBC Channel 1. This broadcast is also available on YouTube, courtesy of the Parliament of Kenya YouTube channel. My name is Edward Kabasem. We'll now take a look at the order of business this afternoon. Under order number 7, the member for Lagos Songa constituency, Honorable Samuel Atandi, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs what measures is the government putting in place to assist the many Kenyan citizens who are living and working in the People's Republic of China and return to Kenya during the Chinese New Year, winter and spring break, and are now unable to travel back to China due to invalidation of all visas issued before 28th March 2020. When will the government intervene in the matter by diplomatically engaging the government of the People's Republic of China so as to facilitate the affected Kenyans to travel back to China as soon as possible, considering that some of them are at a risk of losing their jobs, businesses, and livelihoods? The question by the Honorable Member for Lagos Songa will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations. Nominated Senator Honorable Denita Gatti will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Education and Research to outline the mechanisms the ministry has put in place and the facilities it has availed, if any, to ensure that students with various forms of disabilities are able to efficiently access online learning during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic when learning institutions are closed. What guidelines and frameworks have been put in place to guide the eventual reopening of schools with respect to all public and private institutions providing special education in the country? The question by the Honorable Member will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. The Member for Isiolo South, Honorable Abdi Koropu Tepo, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government to provide the status of investigations into the death of the late Ms. Shakali Hussein Diba, a young mother who was allegedly abducted, raped, stabbed to death, had her eyes gouged out and body burnt and dumped in the neighboring Igembe North constituency on 17th July 2020. If you're just joining us, that is the Speaker of the National Assembly, who is walking into the chambers to oversee the business of the National Assembly on its return from a month-long recess. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast, courtesy of KBC and PBU. My name is Edward Kabasa. Good afternoon.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor as your servants whom you've been pleased to court the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests are committed to our charge. Amen. missed that.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, I wish to inform the House that I'm in receipt of a letter from the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning, seeking approval of the House for the release of 50% of the equitable share of the national revenue that was allocated to the county governments in the Division of Revenue Act 2020 to the 47 county governments. In the letter, the Cabinet Secretary notes that the request is based on a legal opinion from the Honorable the Attorney General, which advised that a proposal by the National Treasury to release 50% of the equitable share of revenue allocated to county governments in the Division of Revenue Act 2020, pending the passage of the annual County Allocation of Revenue Act, may only be done with the express authority of the National Assembly, as the same is a withdrawal of funds from the consolidated fund. The advice of the Attorney General draws largely from the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court in reference number 3 of 2019, which guided both houses of Parliament on the appropriate course of action in the event of an impasse over the passage of a Division of Revenue Bill, as was the case during the last session of the 12th Parliament. Honourable members, it is notable that the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court was specific to the Division of Revenue Bill 2019, in which case the court allowed the National Assembly to authorize the disbursement of monies to the counties in specific circumstances, being whenever there is an impasse over the passage of a Division of Revenue Bill. Consequently, as indeed observed by the Honourable the Attorney General, the binding advisory opinion of the Supreme Court in reference number 3 of 2019 may not be applied to a scenario other than that which was contemplated by the court at the time. Honourable members, in view of this, the request by the Cabinet Secretary, in view of this and the request by the Cabinet Secretary, the question that therefore arises is, and I quote, what decisive steps can the National Assembly take to address the situation, noting that the delay in the passage of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2020 due to the stalemate on the third formula on allocation of revenue to counties is likely to stifle the operations of the county governments, close the quote. In answering this question, honourable members, one must examine the law, in particular the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2015, and the Supreme Court Advisory Reference number 3 of 2019. Article 206, Clause 2 of the Constitution requires the express authorization of withdrawals from the consolidated fund either by the Constitution or by an Act of Parliament. It provides that, and I quote, 206, Clause 2, money may be withdrawn from the consolidated fund only, and I put emphasis on the word only, A, in accordance with an appropriation by an Act of Parliament, B, in accordance with Article 222 or 223, or C, as a charge against the fund is authorized by this Constitution and or an Act of Parliament. Close the quote. Honourable members, for clarity on this part, on its part, Article 222 of the Constitution authorizes the withdrawal of funds from the consolidated fund for the operations of the national government in the event that an appropriation bill has not been assented to or is not likely to be assented to before the commencement of a financial year. This is the process that is referred to as vote on account in parliamentary parlance. It is a direct authorization and does not require the passage of any additional legislation to effect the withdrawal. Article 222 of the Constitution is the basis for our own standing order number 242 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, which outlines the procedure for a vote on account. The Constitution, however, does not expressly provide a similar mechanism to intervene for the counties when faced by a similar predicament. The Speaker of the Senate and I have been deliberating on this matter, and we've reached a common consistent view that replicating the vote on account procedure for the county governments will therefore require appropriate legislative grounding in the Constitution or through an Act of Parliament. Honourable members, as you are aware, Parliament passed the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 to operationalize Chapter 12 of the Constitution by providing for the effective management of public finances by the national and county governments, the oversight and responsibility of Parliament and county assemblies, and the different responsibilities of government entities and other bodies. Section 17, subsection 4 of the Act embodies the provisions of Article 206 of the Constitution by requiring that where a withdrawal from the consolidated fund is authorized under the Constitution or an Act of Parliament for the appropriation of money, the National Treasury must make a requisition for the withdrawal and submit it to the Controller of Budget for approval. Further, honourable members, Section 205, subsection 1 of the Act empowers the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury to make regulations not inconsistent with the Act on any matter that is necessary or convenient to be prescribed under the Act or for the carrying out or giving effect to the Act. In exercise of these powers, the Cabinet Secretary made the Public Finance Management (National Government) Regulations 2015. Honourable members, I am constrained to note that the rest of the provisions of Section 205 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 require the express approval of any regulations made under the Act by both houses before they are coming into force. Notably, subsections 4, 5, and 6 of the section provides, and I quote, 4. Regulations under subsection 1 shall not take effect unless approved by a resolution passed by Parliament. 5. Regulations approved under subsection 4 shall take effect on the day after the date on which both houses approved them, or if a later date is specified in the regulations, on that later date. 6. If a House of Parliament does not make a resolution either approving or rejecting any regulations within 15 sitting days after submission to it for approval, the House shall be deemed to have approved those regulations. Close the quotes. From the available records of the House, the Hansard of the afternoon sitting of Tuesday, 31st March 2015, notes that the regulations were tabled before the House by the then leader of the majority party and subsequently committed to the Committee on Delegated Legislation for scrutiny. I did then direct the committee to consider the regulations jointly with the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the then Committee on Finance, Planning and Trade, and make appropriate recommendations to the House. Thereafter, it appears that by attrition of time, the regulations stood approved by dint all the provisions of subsection 6 of Section 205 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Honourable members, Regulation 134 of the same regulations provides for the transfer of the equitable share of national revenue to the counties before the approval of a county allocation of revenue bill. In particular, it provides that, and I quote, if the county allocation of revenue bill submitted to Parliament for a financial year has not been approved by Parliament or is not likely to be approved by Parliament by the beginning of the financial year, the Controller of Budget may authorize withdrawals of up to 50% from the consolidated fund based on the last County Allocation of Revenue Act approved by Parliament for the purposes of meeting expenditure of the county governments for the financial year, close the quotes. At face value, it may be argued that this regulation effectively allows the control budget to disburse 50% of the equitable share allocated to the counties in the previous year's division of revenue bill to the counties pending the approval of a county allocation of revenue bill. Conversely, it may also be argued that the regulations are not the act of Parliament necessary to authorize withdrawal of funds from the consolidated fund as contemplated by Article 206, Clause 2 of the Constitution. In light of the request by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and the advice given by the Honorable the Attorney General, the second argument seems to carry more weight. If the regulations were indeed an adequate mechanism, the Cabinet Secretary and the Attorney General would not need recourse to Parliament, and the National Treasury's request for approval would have been with the House today. Honourable members, indeed, at around the same time that the regulations were tabled before the House in 2015 during the 11th Parliament, a bill for the national government, which was prepared by the then Attorney General at the request of the National Treasury, was introduced in this House by the then leader of the majority party, seeking to insert a new Section 42A into the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. Clause 14 of the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2015, National Assembly Bills number 4 of 2015, effectively sought to authorize a vote on account for county governments in the event that a county allocation of revenue bill is yet to be passed or assented to before the commencement of a financial year. These proposed amendments clearly affirm the need for the express authorization of withdrawals from the consolidated fund, either by the Constitution itself or by an act of Parliament. Though the bill lapsed with the 11th Parliament, it is noteworthy that the Budget and Appropriations Committee and recommended the deletion of the proposal as contained in that particular bill on account of its obscure nature and its failure to properly provide for the operative basis for the proposed disbursements to counties. Honourable members, at this stage, permit me to note that my office is also in receipt of a notice of motion from the leader of the minority party, the Honourable John Bandy, acting as an agent of necessity, seeking a resolution of the House for the disbursement of funds to the county governments amounting to 50% of the monies allocated to the counties by the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2019. The motion draws on the provisions of Regulation 134 of the PFM Management National Government Regulations 2015 and effectively seeks to invoke the vote on account process for county governments. The concern with the leader of the minority party seeks to resolve is extremely valid, but as I've noted in this communication, a vote on account in respect of funds for county governments is not tenable at the moment. In guiding Parliament on how to cushion county governments while resolving any impasse over the passage of a division of revenue bill, the Supreme Court also urged the speakers of the two houses of Parliament to entrench its decision in law by initiating appropriate legislative action. Fortunately, well before the determination of the Supreme Court in Advisory Opinion Reference Number 3 of 2019 was issued, the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly introduced the Public Finance Amendment Bill 2019, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, to put into place interim measures to allow county governments to access their minimum share of revenue to enable them to offer services to the public, pending enactment of a division of revenue bill. The bill was considered and passed by the National Assembly on the 18th of September 2019 and forwarded to the Senate for consideration. This bill, however, only sought to deal with a scenario where there is an impasse on the passage of the division of revenue bill. Presently, of the two annual revenue bills, only the county allocation of revenue bill is pending. Honourable members, in view of the strict requirements of the law and in order to put in place a credible mechanism to address the concerns of the county governments on the disbursement of funds pending the passage of the county allocation of revenue bill, both now and in the future, two options now present themselves to the House. On one hand, the Budget and Appropriations Committee may introduce a bill proposing amendments to the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to anchor in law the vote on account option for disbursement of funds to county governments in the case of future delays in the passage of the county allocation of revenue bill. Alternatively, having already deliberated on and passed an amendment to the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to cater for any delay in the passage of the division of revenue bill, the House may opt to await the consideration, amendment, and passage of the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2019, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, by the Senate and expedite its conclusion and presentation for assent. Honourable members, noting that the proposed amendments to the Public Finance Management Act 2012 shall require consideration and passage by the two houses, the second option offers a more convenient avenue of averting a financial crisis at the counties within a shorter time frame. To this end, I have requested the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party to urgently engage the Senate majority and minority leadership with a view to fast-tracking the consideration and passage of by the Senate of the Public Finance Management Act, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, with appropriate amendments, providing in law the requisite withdrawals from the consolidated fund in the event of any delays in the passage of the annual County Allocation of Revenue Act. This will ensure that counties continue to function whether or not there is a stalemate or delays in the passage of either the two annual revenue bills, both now and in the future. Honourable members, I remain confident that the Senate will rise to the occasion and dispense with the bill with its usual diligence on matters integral to the protection of devolution. On the part of the National Assembly, the House Business Committee and the Budget and Appropriations Committee are already seized of the matter. As a chairperson of the House Business Committee, I do undertake that the committee will prioritize the consideration of the Senate's amendments to the bill in accordance with the Standing Orders 145 to 148 once the schedule of the Senate's amendments is received in this House. In the unlikely event that there is inordinate delay in the consideration and passage of the bill by the Senate, the Budget and Appropriations Committee further stands directed to urgently cause the publication and introduction of a bill proposing amendments to the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to cater for interim disbursements to county governments pending the enactment of a county allocation of revenue bill. Honourable members, in conclusion, I wish to thank the leader of the minority party, the Honourable John Bandy, for his laudable effort in seeking to address the issue that suddenly threatens to cripple the effective functioning of our devolved system of government. So I note that his motion may indeed be admissible in the event that the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2019, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, is passed with appropriate amendments and assented to. It is my considered view that the money bill nature of such a special motion would call for it to be moved by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Indeed, this is the current arrangement with regard to the special motion for a vote on account moved under Article 222 of the Constitution and Standing Order number 242. In summary, honourable members, my considered guidance is therefore as follows. 1, that after consultations, the Speaker of the Senate and I have reached a common considered view that replicating a vote on account procedure to allow disbursement of funds to county governments pending the passage and assent of a county allocation of revenue bill requires legislative grounding in the Constitution or in an Act of Parliament. 2, that in absence of a proper legislative grounding under the Constitution or an Act of Parliament, the intended notice of motion by the leader of the minority party, the Honourable John Bandy, noble as it is premature at the moment. 3, that the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party are hereby requested to urgently engage the Senate majority and minority leadership to fast-track the consideration and passage of the Senate, by the Senate, of the Public Finance Management Act Bill, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, with appropriate amendments to entrench the procedure for the withdrawals from the consolidated fund in law in the event of any delays in the passage of the annual County Allocation of Revenue Act. Number 4, that the House Business Committee and the Budget and Appropriations Committee shall prioritize the consideration of the Senate's amendments evenly to the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2019, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019, over any other business once the schedule of the Senate's amendments is conveyed to this House by the Senate. And 5, that in the unlikely event that there is inordinate delay in the consideration, amendment, and passage of the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 63 of 2019 by the Senate, the Budget and Appropriations Committee of this House shall urgently cause the publication and introduction of a bill proposing amendments to the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to cater for interim disbursements to county governments pending the enactment of a county allocation of revenue bill. And the House is accordingly guided. I thank you, no members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank you most sincerely for that well-informed ruling and very detailed ruling, I must say. And I think a ruling that will stand the test of time. Mr. Speaker, I really don't want to talk about the issue in the Senate regarding the new formula because that is political and it seems to have taken a direction that I don't want to dwell on now, especially given that we are trying to look for a solution to this problem. I want to just commit, Mr. Speaker, that both the Leader of Majority and I will engage with the Senate because I think that route of engaging the Senate with a view to passing the amendment to the Public Finance Management Act that is before the Senate is the shortest and easier route. And even agree with them that they should bring an amendment so that they don't pass it without amendment, and then it will put us again in a situation where we need to capture the issue of County Allocation of Revenue Act. So I think both Honorable Kimunya and I would make sure that we engage with the two leaders of the Senate so that in the event that they are not going to be successful today in passing the formula, even if they pass the formula, this thing may again recur 5 years from today, so that we agree that they capture that element that we had not foreseen, because the amendment that went to the Senate, the amendment bill that went to the Senate, only addressed itself to the division of revenue. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I wanted also to make it very clear that as Budget and Appropriations Committee, we did discuss and talked about even my motion, and we agreed that to shorten time, because even though I'm a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, but bringing a motion is like any other member. So to be in line with the provisions of Article 114 or our standing orders 114 also, the committee, through the chair, Honorable Kanidi Kega, was to take up any motion, any consequent or subsequent motion arising out of it. So I just wanted to make it clear that we had actually agreed that I surrender any motion to the committee that I had already proposed, and it will be dealt with at an appropriate time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Well, there's nothing arises, nothing for debate. So there's nothing. I just gave the Honorable John Bally the opportunity because he had already moved in, as I observe, as an agent of necessity to try and save the counties from collapse. No, it's not yet here, so we can't discuss it when it is in the Senate. Let's wait for it to come, and then, yes. Let's move next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Honourable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 42, subsection 1 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I wish to report to the House that I have received a message from His Excellency the President seeking the National Assembly's approval of the appointment of Ms. Anne Derito as the Registrar of Political Parties, Mr. Ali Abdullahi Suro, Ms. Florence Tabu Biria, and Mr. Makore Wilson Mohochi as Assistant Registrars of Political Parties. Honourable members, Section 34A and Paragraph 5 of the 6th Schedule to the Political Parties Act 2011 require that within 14 days following receipt of names of persons forwarded by the Public Service Commission, the President shall nominate one person for appointment to the office of Registrar of Political Parties and 3 persons for appointment as Assistant Registrars of Political Parties, and forward the names of the nominees to the National Assembly for approval. Further, Paragraph 6 of the 6th Schedule to the Political Parties Act of 2011 provides, and I quote, "The National Assembly shall within 21 days of receipt of the names consider the suitability or otherwise of the nominees and approve or reject the nominations." Close the quotes. Honourable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 45, I hereby refer this message, together with the curriculum vitae of the nominees, to the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to undertake the necessary approval hearings. The committee is advised to expeditiously proceed to notify the nominees and the public, commence the approval hearings in good time, and table its report on or before Thursday, 24th September 2020, to enable the House consider the matter within the statutory timelines. Thank you.
Order number 4, petitions.
Well, the purported petition is not, has not been received and reviewed. Suppose the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of Majority.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020, afternoon sitting. Number 1, legal notice number 139 relating to the tax procedure, unassembled motor vehicles and trailers amendment regulations 2020 and the explanatory memoranda. Number 2, legal notice number 151 relating to the stamp duty, valuation of immovable property regulations of 2020 and the explanatory memoranda. Number 3, special audit report of the Auditor General on the accounts of the National Land Commission, in brackets, payments on behalf of other government entities for the period 2014-2015 and 2016-2017. Number 4, the quarterly economic and budgetary review report for the financial year 2019-2020, period ending 30th of June 2020 for the National Treasury and Planning. Number 5, report of the Auditor General for the National Government for the financial year 2017-2018. Number 6, summary of the report of the Auditor General for the National Government for the financial year 2017-2018. Number 7, June 2020 report on investing in Kenya's people, valuing the benefits of the U.S. or United States-Kenya relationship by the researchers at the College of William and Mary in the United States of America. Number 8, a new report and financial statements of the Kenya Dairy Board for the financial year ended 30th of June 2018. Number 9, the report of the Auditor General and the financial statements of the Kenya Reinsurance Corporation Limited for the year ended 31st of December 2019 and the certificate therein. And number 10, report of the Auditor General and the financial statements of the Capital Markets Authority for the financial year ended 30th of June 2019 and the certificate therein. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Land.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, September 8, 2020. Report of the Departmental Committee on Lands on its consideration of the Land Registration Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7, 2020. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Notice of motion, there was the Honorable Mary wa Maua. She's yes. Yeah, notice of motion. Order number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that, aware that the Constitution and the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act 2011 provide that every citizen is entitled to any document of registration or identification issued by the state to citizens, including a birth certificate. Further aware that Article 53(2) of the Constitution of Kenya provides that a child's best interests are of paramount importance in every matter concerning the child, cognizant of the fact that issuance of birth certificate during civil legislation association with the children is a challenge across the country due to, among other issues, missing information for the parents and children as a result of missing and improper documentation, damaged manual documents, and lack of legislation of children born outside hospital environment. Deeply concerned over the delays and long queues at civil legislation centers and the challenges affecting legislation of children by the Ministry of Education using the National Education Management Information System, NEMIS, in the country, this House urges the government to establish database centers in all civil legislation centers for the purpose of storing all the necessary information required for issuance of birth certificate to all children, and put in place administrative mechanism to ensure that every child is automatically issued with a birth certificate before the child attains the age of 3 years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
First question by the member for, question by private notice member for Ugenya. No, Alego Usonga. Dona Batandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question by private notice, and the question is question number 20 of the year 2020. The question is addressed to the CS, Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs. Part 1, what measures is the government putting in place to assist the many Kenyan citizens who are living and working in the People's Republic of China and return to Kenya during the Chinese New Year, that is winter and spring break, and are now unable to travel back to China due to invalidation of all visas issued before the 28th March 2020. Part 2, when will the government intervene in the matter by diplomatically engaging the government of the People's Republic of China so as to facilitate the affected Kenyans to travel back to China as soon as possible, considering that some of them are at risk of losing their jobs, businesses, and livelihoods? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations. Next is by the Honorable Danita Gatti.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to raise question by private notice, question number 21 of 2020, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education and Research. Number one, could the Cabinet Secretary outline the mechanisms that the ministry has put in place and the facilities it has availed, if any, to ensure that students with various forms of disabilities are able to effectively and efficiently access online learning during the period of COVID-19 pandemic when learning institutions are closed? Number two, what guidelines and frameworks have been put in place by the ministry to guide the eventual reopening of schools with respect to all public and private institutions providing special education in the country? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, question to be replied before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Ordinary questions. First question by the member for Isiolo South, the Honorable Abdi Koropu Tepo. Koropu Tepo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask question number 155 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary, one, provide the status of investigation into the death of the late Shakalle Hussein Diba, a young mother who was allegedly abducted, raped, stabbed to death, had her eyes gouged out and body burnt and dumped in the neighboring Igembe North constituency on 17 July 2020. Two, explain why there's an increase in incidents of insecurity and crime in areas where the National Police reservists were recently disarmed. Three, statewide the number of National Police reservists in Isiolo South constituency was scaled down and some reservists disarmed. And finally, Mr. Speaker, consider reinstating, scaling up, and arming the National Police reservists in areas occupied by pastoralist communities to curb insecurity in these areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question to be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Next question by the member for Uriri, Honorable Mark Nyamita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 158 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry. Part one, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the measures put in place by the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, to ensure that Sukari Industries, a sugar milling company located at the border of Uriri and Ndiwa constituency, immediately stops the illegal dumping of hazardous waste materials and other environmental pollutants into the river nearby? When will the ministry respond to and address the various complaints raised regarding the activities of the said milling company, including the irregular construction of a concrete wall that has led to perennial flooding in the area during heavy rains, and the huge negative impact of the company's activities to the health and the residents of the area and the ecosystem at large? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question to be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next question by the member for Tetu, Honorable James Gishui. Member for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My question is one.
And just before, sorry, Sergeant at Arms, any member desiring to come into the chamber, there are quite a number of empty seats. Even if other people may have booked, it's already long past the time we allow. So any member that may be desirous of coming in may come and occupy the empty spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. My question is number 163 of 2020, addressed to the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection. When will the persons who worked in Nyauti zones within Tatu constituency between year 1990 to 1996 be paid their outstanding salaries and terminal dues as recommended by the Ministry of Labor in year 2005 in a report on the matter and later by the National Assembly in year 2011 through a parliamentary report? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Question to be replied to before the Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. Next question by the member for Kadiani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 168 of 2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection. One, what steps is the Cabinet Secretary taking to ensure that one, Steve Nzuki Mwinde of ID number 9478799, an employment PIN number 101343, who was irregularly dismissed from service by the Kenya National Examinations Council on 30th May 2012, is reinstated by the Council, since in 14th December 2018, the Employment and Labor Relations Court declared his termination as having been irregular and unfair. And two, could the Cabinet Secretary consider bringing the matter to its fair and logical conclusion soonest by having the officers benefit for the period paid to him, as well as he be reinstated to work? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question to be replied to before the Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. The member for Kuresoi South, Honorable Tonui. There is indication that he had indicated he might not make it from the village. In which case, since he doesn't appear to be present and there was indication he had called the office, this question is deferred. The next question is by the member for Oljoro Rock, the Honorable Michael Mushira. Mr. Mushira wrote requesting that the question be deferred. That should conclude that segment of order number 7. Go to the second segment, which is about statements. Member for Tharaka Nithi County, the Honorable Beatrice Nkatha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request for a statement regarding Teacher Service Commission requirement for 10 years continuous service as probation period for newly recruited teachers before appointment. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Orders 44 2C, I wish to request a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding a public notice by the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, requiring 10 years of continuous service as a probation period for newly recruited teachers before appointment. Honorable Speaker, the recently released public notice on recruitment of additional primary and secondary school teachers 2020 by TSC on its website and daily newspapers requires that the newly recruited teachers will have to serve continuously for a minimum of 10 years as probation period before being
appointed to permanent and the pension of terms of service. The new requirement by TSC is also contained in the Commission 2020-2021 recruitment guidelines. Honorable Speaker, if the requirement is enforced, the new recruited teachers will not qualify for promotions until after September 2030, which is contrary to the provisions of provision of Section 42 of the Employment Act, which provides that the probation period should not be more than 12 months. In this regard, these teachers will be disadvantaged as the same Employment Act gives the employment powers to terminate the contract of an employee on probation by giving a notice of only 7 days. Further, this new requirement by TSC means that teachers will not qualify for probation.
Welcome to our COVID-19 daily briefing. Let me begin by again apologizing for the slight delay in the timing that we had given you for this brief. Fellow Kenyans, over the past few weeks, since mid-July 2020, there has been a progressive decline in the number of daily confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 nationally. This indeed is an encouraging trend that we need to sustain. Being able to monitor progress in containment of the virus is hinged upon testing. Testing, therefore, is a critical element in the COVID-19 response. The Ministry of Health's testing strategy has evolved over the course of the pandemic. With the establishment of community transmission of the virus in a good part of the country, priority testing is now directed to those meeting the World Health Organization's and the Ministry's case definition for COVID-19, persons who have been in contact with confirmed symptomatic cases, healthcare workers who may have come into contact with confirmed cases in the course of their duty, remandees, truck drivers, healthcare workers, and surveillance testing. Other seemingly declining indicators that give us comfort that the country is making progress in the right direction are the number of hospitalized patients, the number of patients in intensive care units at any one time, and yesterday we told you they are down from an average of 65 at week 28 to 25 currently, and finally the number of facility-based mortalities. Fellow Kenyans, in spite of this apparent good progress, we wish to remind our people that we are not yet out of the woods. The pandemic is at different phases of its evolution in different parts of the country. Out of the total 35,205 confirmed cases, more than half, that is 19,801, approximately 56%, are from Nairobi alone, while 2,587, or 7%, are from Kiambu, and another 2,483, or 7%, are from Mombasa. We can see, therefore, that on aggregate, 70% of the national confirmed cases are from these 3 counties, which also account for 80% of the cumulative samples tested so far. The national decline tendency observed is therefore largely contributed by these 3 counties. At individual levels, counties, some of them are showing trends in rising numbers, and these include Machakos, Kajiado, Kitui, Meru, Busia, and Nyeri, which seem to be experiencing rising numbers of confirmed cases. So what we're saying is that while the overall curve may be showing progress in a downward trend, when that curve is dismantled into counties, you will still see that there are some counties where numbers are rising, and that is why we are saying we must exercise caution in interpretation of that curve. While optimistic, we urge caution as we interpret the apparent decline in positivity rate. We therefore plead with our people not to lower their guard as a result of this progress. We must continue to strictly adhere to the containment measures if we have to push in this journey to flatten our curve. We have attained this progress because of these measures that have been in place. As you may be aware, there is evidence in other countries such as Spain, Belgium, Netherlands, France, Germany, UK, and some parts of the United States, where secondary and even tertiary spikes were experienced following relaxation of some of the containment measures. The World Health Organization has provided criteria that countries may use as they make considerations for lifting restrictions. These include a decline in the number of cases by 50% over a period of 3 weeks. That is assuming testing is optimal, the number of daily cases. Less than 5% positivity over a period of 2 weeks, again assuming that testing is optimal. At least 80% of cases coming from known clusters. In our case, we can call Nairobi County, Mombasa County, Kiambu County, which we mentioned as some of the known clusters. And decline in the number of deaths among confirmed cases, and continuous decline in the number of hospitalizations and ICU admissions. As the ministry and counties undertake this robust evaluation of the Kenyan situation, let us maintain the containment measures of washing our hands with soap and water, maintaining social and physical distance, wearing of face masks at all times in public places, and avoiding all forms of gathering, be they social or political. The government shall be advising the nation on the next steps as and when the situation so warrants. Fellow Kenyans, on our COVID-19 statistics, today 151 people have tested positive from a sample size of 2,552 tested in the last 24 hours. This now brings the number of confirmed positive cases to 35,356. Our number of cumulative tests stand at 479,697. From the cases, only two are foreigners, the rest are Kenyans. In terms of gender, for the first time, females have outnumbered males. We have 77 that are females and 74 that are males. The youngest is a 3-year-old child. The oldest is 74 years. By counties, the distribution is as follows. Kitui leads this over the last 24 hours with 54 cases. Nairobi with 23. Uasin Gishu with 11. Kiambu 9. Garissa 9. Migori 9. Kisii 7. Trans Nzoia 6. Narok 4. Kericho 3. Mombasa 2. Busia 2. Taita Taveta 2. Machakos 2, Kilifi 2, Laikipia, Bomet, Nakuru, Meru, Nyandarua, and Kajiado, 1 case each. In Kitui, the 54 cases come from the following sub-counties. 27 from Kitui Central, 8 each from Kitui Rural and Kitui West, 5 from Mwingi Central, 4 from Kitui East, 1 case each from Kitui South and Mwingi North. In Nairobi, the 23 cases are from Embakasi South 4, Westlands 3, Dagoretti North, Dagoretti South, Embakasi West, Makadara, and Ruaraka, 2 cases each, Embakasi East, Embakasi North, Kibra, Langata, Roysambu, and Starehe, 1 case each. In Uasin Gishu, the 11 cases are from Ainabkoi, 10, and Soi 1. While in Kiambu, the 9 cases are in Kiamba, Kiambu Town, Ruiru, and Thika, 2 cases each, and Lari 1. The rest of the breakdown will be in the brief. On a positive note, 173 patients have recovered from the disease, 107 of these from the home-based care program, and 66 have been discharged from various health facilities. Our total recoveries now stand at 21,483. Today, we have not registered any death from the disease. Our fatality, therefore, remains at 599. We want to thank our healthcare workers for the good work that they continue to deliver out there in saving the lives of our people. I thank you.
Nancy Okware kutoka KBC. Umezungumza kuhusiana na idadi ya maambukizi kuonekana kuondoka katika kaunti ya Nairobi na kuelekea katika kaunti nyingine, kama vile leo hii tumeona ya kwamba kaunti ya Kitui imeongoza kwa idadi ya maambukizi. Je, kama wizara ni kipi ambacho mnafanya ama kwa ushirikiano na zile kaunti ambazo pengine zinatarajia idadi ya maambukizi kuongezeka katika siku za usoni? Je, mnapanga kuongeza idadi ya watu ambao wanapimwa katika zile kaunti ama ni mikakati ipi zaidi ambayo mtaweka? Shukran.
Dorcas Wangera from Citizen TV. Yesterday you had intimated that you would make public the revised burial protocols after WHO also released the same. I don't know when this can be made public, because we have people who are asking. And then secondly, even at this time, the cold weather, are we seeing an increase in other infections, particularly TB, pneumonia, and influenza and the flu?
Beldin Olyaula from KTN. With the low records of deaths reported and also decline of positives, can you say the virus in Kenya has become less severe?
Please repeat that question again. I didn't hear it well.
I'm asking, with the low positive numbers, can we say the virus in Kenya has become less severe?
Less severe.
Helen Aura from NTV. With our research and the funds that have been put in terms of our research, how far are we as a country in our research for our vaccine?
Okay, thank you. Kitui, with rising numbers, and it's not only Kitui as we mentioned, we have said that the curve that we follow, the national numbers, is an aggregate of the entire country. And when you break that down now per counties, you will find that each county has a different history and different trajectory. But because the major areas where the largest numbers of cases have originated from, or the clusters, what we have even called high risk or hot zones, have been these counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kiambu, Kajiado, the general metropolitan area. We are seeing a smoothing a little bit of these major metropolitan areas, but now there seems to be rising numbers in some of these other counties. In due time, these counties will also be able to manage those numbers. Are we working with these counties? Of course, we work as a national government very closely with all the county governments to provide them with the necessary support to do the testing, the follow-ups, and to be able to gather these data that give us an indication of where we are in terms of the spread of the virus. So yes, we do work very closely with them. As soon as when we see numbers begin to rise in any particular area, that area draws particular attention again in terms of being able to enhance the level of monitoring through testing for those areas so that we can follow it very carefully. We can identify individuals who are confirmed cases. We can then be able to get them into care and isolation so that we are able to break that cycle of transmission. And we will continue to work with all the counties. We are watching very carefully. Most of the counties, those especially that seem to be showing from day to day increased numbers. Regarding the burial protocol that we talked about, this is something that is work in progress. I think Dr. Kuria had talked about it. Maybe he can respond to the timelines in terms of when this protocol will be made available to the public. Are we seeing any disease increase in other diseases because of this cold season? We have been monitoring that very carefully. We have been looking at trends of particularly diseases that we know flourish during the cold season, and these tend to be respiratory diseases. We have been looking at those trends right from the beginning of the year and comparing it with trends that we have observed in the past year. And the reason we look at that is just really to look at the impact of COVID-19 on that. That's another indicator that one can follow to see whether indeed you're having a larger number of COVID cases that might not be registered and you're missing them out. So there are a number of ways that we are looking at these numbers and to determine the impact of this COVID-19. What I can tell you is that the trends we see in terms of the other diseases is nothing unusual. They are more or less similar trends as previous years. But in fact, when we look at respiratory diseases in general, actually we have seen a lower trend this time of the year compared to the same time last year. So we don't have much worry in that area that COVID-19 is being masked as other diseases. Low numbers, low positives. Does it mean the virus is less severe? We can't say anything about the virus having changed in terms of the severity of the disease it causes. Low numbers don't tell you that. What the low numbers just tell us is that the transmission is not has been interrupted, and it's not transmitting as fast or as widely as before. So those and that's what the containment measures are meant to do, is to break the cycle of transmission. So it tells us that we are not able to transmit, that the transmission of the virus has been curtailed to some extent, and that's why the numbers come down. To determine whether the virus that is circulating right now is different from a virus that was around a few weeks ago. That is, requires a bit of research to look at the genetic makeup of the virus and see whether mutations have happened in some parts of the virus and whether that mutation is related to any clinical manifestation. So to put it simply, no, low numbers don't mean that the virus is less severe. Helen from NTV, where are we on our research particularly on the vaccine? You know that there are a number of vaccines that have been undergoing trial in the globe. Quite a number of them are being done in the USA. There are some that have reached stage phase 3, where they are now recruiting large numbers of patients to test the virus on. These phase 3 trials have mostly targeted they're recruiting from their countries, that is in the US, UK, and other places. They haven't extended that recruitment to Africa. But last night I was watching CNN, and I heard that the Moderna vaccine, which is in phase 3, that they are unable to recruit African Americans among the number of patients that they want. And you know, that's an important observation, because in determining how effective a vaccine is, it needs to be tested in different geographic regions and in different ethnic groups, because sometimes those ethnic ethnic backgrounds can make a difference. So I'm seeing that possibly even these phase 3 trials might move into Africa and try to recruit subjects to be tested here in Africa, which would be a good thing for us. But we are still on track as far as the Oxford vaccine is concerned, which is the one that we are collaborating through the Kemri Wellcome Trust Research Institute with Oxford University in an early phase trial of that vaccine. That one is on track. The protocol has been approved, and recruitment is going to get started very soon. I hope that has answered your question, and thank you. Let me ask Dr. Kuria to comment just on the timelines for the revised burial protocol.
Thank you, Councillor Rashid. I think we said this yesterday, that the protocols are developed and they are in the final phases of review at the ministerial level. And hopefully, as I said, before the end of the week, we should be able to roll them out. So our hope was that by Friday we should be able to roll them out, having signed them off at the ministerial level. So if we don't attend by Friday, then maybe Monday, Tuesday, but hopefully by Friday we should be able to roll them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kuria. I will ask Dr. Ombacho to say a word or two regarding the question on how are we supporting or working with some of these counties that now seem to be seeing increase in the numbers that of confirmed positives.
Thank you, Waziri. Just like we have informed you before, the ministry continues to support the counties based on a very clear criteria. And the criteria is, one, the disease burden, in this case, the burden in numbers tested positive in those places. Building capacity. Building capacity is like having some infrastructure to support these issues. And also issues of technical, and also the geographical location of the county, noting that there are some counties which are very far. So what we have continued to do is that using those set criteria, we have come out with the percentage division of support in terms of material, in terms of the technical, the human, where we think that there is need for training, where we think that we need to send in our technical team to work with the counties. That will continue to, we have been doing it and we will continue to do it. Now, in terms of the donations that we get, these donations go to all the counties based on those criteria. And indeed, there is those who actually request for quick support, and for those who maybe are not, it doesn't mean necessarily that if there is no disease burden, we don't look at each county. Based on the normal trends, we also address other counties in terms of support. Thank you, Wazir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Macho, and thank you. Have a good evening.
We can categorize them. And I think by doing that, it means this person will be deployed at an area where he's comfortable with. Otherwise, the generation that is there today look as if it's punishment for them to be sent there. So I think, Mr. Speaker, the committee will check on those balances so that we can have a commendable and responsible police force with least mental problems. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate.
Leader Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following procedural motion, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1 and notwithstanding the resolution of the House of February 18, 2020, the House further orders that during the sittings of the House of September 8, 2020, up to and including October 15, 2020, each speech in debate on bills, motions, including special motions, sessional papers, and committee reports shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 10 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 5 minutes for any other member speaking except for the leader of the majority party, leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, who shall be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes, and a priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and chairperson of the relevant committee in that order. Mr. Speaker, this is fairly something we do at the beginning of every sitting to just set out how business will be conducted. And the timings are obviously to reflect the limited sittings that we are having, and I'll be moving a motion later on to define those new sittings for this special sitting, for this sitting between now and October 15. But members who obviously note we don't have much time, and hence the usual luxury of having 10 minutes per member would not facilitate as many members as possible to contribute to debates. And hence we might end up delaying so long in processing bills and other papers that will be before the House. So the House Business Committee did meet and said, let's limit, including for the leadership. Traditionally we have more time, but let's contain everything within 5 minutes, at least to highlight the key issues. And without having to repeat what other people have said, 5 minutes is actually enough to add the extra point that one wants to make to the bill, and similarly for us to be able to set the tone within the 10 minutes. So this is a fairly straightforward motion, and I would urge that we just pass it all of us so we can start getting into 5 minutes to contribute to the business before us. Honourable Speaker, I beg to move and ask the Honourable John Buddy, leader of minority, to second.
Honourable Buddy.
I second.
I propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 97, subsection 1, and notwithstanding the resolution of the House on February 18, 2020, the House further orders that during the sittings of the House of September 8, 2020, up to and including October 15, 2020, each speech in debate on bills, motions, including special motions, sessional papers, and committee reports shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours, with not more than 10 minutes for the mover in moving, and 5 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 5 minutes for any other member speaking, except for the leader of the majority party, leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, shall be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee in that order. I put the question. I put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 97, subsection 1, and notwithstanding the resolution of the House of February 18, 2020, the House further orders that during the sittings of the House of September 8, 2020, up to and including October 15, 2020, each speech in debate on bills, motions, including special motions, session papers, and committee reports, shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 2.5 hours, with not more than 10 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 5 minutes for any other member speaking, except for the leader of the majority party, leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, shall be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee in that order. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 9, motion, alteration of the calendar of the House.
Leader majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following procedural motion on the alteration of the calendar of the House, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 28.4 and taking cognizance of the continued spread of COVID-19 pandemic in the country, this House resolves to further alter its calendar for the fourth session, regular sessions, as amended on July 28, 2020, and therefore orders as follows with respect to the sittings of the House during the period September 9 to October 15, 2020. A, that the House will hold afternoon sittings on Tuesdays commencing at 2:30 p.m. and morning and afternoon sittings on Thursdays commencing at 10 a.m. and 2:30 respectively. And B, that with effect from Wednesday, September 9th, 2020, which is tomorrow, the sittings of the House of Wednesdays, both morning and afternoon, will stand suspended. And C, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order number 43, on Thursday mornings, business not sponsored by the majority, the minority party, or a committee shall have precedence over all other business in such order as the House Business Committee shall determine. Honorable Speaker, members who remember that during the last sittings, we sat only on Wednesdays, which meant we only had 2 sittings per week. The House Business Committee looked at the business that's pending, and specifically looking at some of the business that pertains to private members, bills and motions and everything else, and decided that we need to create 1 extra sitting so that we'll henceforth be sitting 3 times a week, with 1 sitting specifically dedicated to the processing of private members' bills and other business, which will then be on Thursday mornings. So the variation between what we had last time and this time is A, we will not be sitting on Wednesdays. We will sit on Tuesday so that members then will obviously be coming on Mondays and sit in the afternoon, then have their business committee, some of the committee business on Tuesday morning, other committee business on Wednesday, and then after Thursday, members can then travel to their constituency to also to attend constituency matters. But that gives also Wednesday free for sorting out this house to adhere to the health protocols in terms of any fumigation that will be required, so that we are able to protect ourselves from health issues. So, Mr. Speaker, again, this is rather straightforward. We've created one extra session, and what we also want to do is we also know there's quite lots of pending business that relates to members' private bills that is in the committees. And I want to take this opportunity to urge the chairs of the committees and the members of the committees to fast track whatever is pending within the committees, so that we get those reports, because until we have the report of the committee, it will be very difficult to process the bills on the floor of the House. And we may be frustrating members who have put a lot of effort in coming up with a bill, and some of those bills have a national importance, but their bill is stuck in a committee. If we could fast track all that, bring them here, then we use now the Thursday mornings, and if need be, we would be able to create even part of either the Tuesday or Thursday afternoon to transact as many of those bills as possible, so that whatever effort members have put, at least can also contribute to the national good, because all those bills are meant to help in the national legislation enhancement. So again, members, we will be asking for you to support this. It's an extra sitting, but dedicated to yourselves, so that at least we are able to clear what's on the pipeline. Again, I beg to move, and once again, I would ask the leader of the minority party to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in addition to what the leader of majority has said, in our standing orders, it provides that we will be sitting every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30, Wednesdays from 10, and again from 2:30. So Wednesdays we have 2 sittings, and then Thursday, 1 sitting from 2:30. But with COVID-19, Mr. Speaker, we moved to a situation where now we were only sitting on Wednesdays, both morning and afternoon. Mr. Speaker, what the House Business Committee has agreed on is that in the next 5 weeks, from now to 15th of October, we will be having these 3 sittings in a week. That is on Tuesday, 2:30, and then on Thursdays, both morning and afternoon. That's an additional 1 sitting a week, as the leader of majority has actually said. And so we also realize that now we are not being very fair to private members, because always Wednesday morning were meant for private members' bills, but with this change, the Thursday mornings will be reserved for private members' bills. And there are very many, Mr. Speaker. I sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee. If you see even just the money bills that are coming from individual members of Parliament, it's so impressive. And I think we need to encourage members. We may also need to look for ways of expediting them, because again, Thursday morning is not sufficient to deal with all the bills that have already been proposed by individual members. Mr. Speaker, I want to just ask the House to agree with us. And of course, after October 15th, we will reevaluate and see, looking at the advice from the Health Ministry and the flattening of the curve, chances are that we may get back to normal, God willing. It requires all our commitments, our total commitment as a nation, to be able to realize this. I thank you, and I second, Mr. Speaker.
I propose the question, which is that pursuant to provision of Standing Order number 28, subsection 4, and taking cognizance of the continuous spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, this House resolves to further alter its calendar for the 4th session, regular sessions, as amended on July 28, 2020, and therefore orders as follows with respect to the sittings of the House during the period September 9th to to October 15, 2020. A, that the House will hold afternoon sittings on Tuesdays commencing at 2:30 p.m., morning and afternoon sittings on Thursdays commencing at 10 a.m. and at 2:30 p.m. respectively. B, that with effect from Wednesday, September 9, 2020, the sittings of the House of Wednesdays, both morning and afternoon, stand suspended. And C, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order number 40, subsection 3, on Thursday mornings, business not sponsored by the majority, the minority, or a committee shall have precedence over all other business in such order as the House Business Committee shall determine.
Provisions of the Basic Education Act 2013, noting that given the critical role EACs play in assessment, placement, and early intervention of children with special needs, EACs countrywide are currently in a dilapidated and dysfunctional state. Now, therefore, the Senate calls upon the county governments to operationalize Section 46 of the Basic Education Act 2013 by 1, ensuring that EACs in the respective counties are fully furnished and adequately staffed, and 2, working in tandem with the national government to develop a national policy on EACs that will define the expected service delivery in accordance with internationally set standards and regulate the terms of employment for the staff. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
The first statements are for 7-1, Senate. Sorry. I'm advised that there is a statement from Majority Leader. As
Madam. Madam Speaker, I'll ask for your indulgence on this one. It's a statement pursuant to Standing Order 52.
Order, members. Let's give audience to the Majority Leader.
Speaker, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.2 of the Standing Orders to make a statement concerning access by county governments to their share of nationally raised revenue for financial year 2020. What's happened to the volume? Is it my problem? Let them make the microphone. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.2 of the Standing Orders to make a statement concerning access by county governments to their share of national raised revenue for financial year 2020-2021. Madam Speaker, as you're aware, under the Constitution of Kenya 2010, there is a two-tier process on how revenue is shared between the two levels of government, In the first instance, and pursuant to Article 218, 1A of the Constitution, Parliament considers and passes the Division of Revenue Bill, which provides revenue raised nationally divides revenue raised nationally between the national and county levels of government. In this respect, the Division of Revenue Act of 2020 was passed by Parliament and assented to on the 22nd April 2020. In the second instance, and pursuant to Article 218, 1B of the Constitution, Parliament considers and passes the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, which allocates among counties the revenue allocated to the county level of government on the basis determined in accordance with the resolution passed under Article 217 of the Constitution. The County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2020 was published on 17th April 2020, read the first time on 21st April 2020, second reading, debate on the bill commenced on the 5th of May 2020 and was adjourned, pursuant to Standing Order 105, to allow the Senate to consider and pass the third basis for allocating revenue among counties, the share of national revenue that's annually allocated to the county level of government. The passage of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2020 is predicated upon the resolution made by the Senate pursuant to Article 217 of the Constitution, considering that the second generation formula has lapsed. Madam Speaker, Article 224 of the Constitution provides on the basis of the Division of Revenue Bill approved by Parliament under Article 218, each county government shall prepare and adopt its own annual budget and appropriation bill in the form and according to the procedure prescribed in an Act of Parliament. However, while a reading of Article 224 would seem to imply that the budget process at the county level of government is determined by the Division of Revenue Bill, it should be noted that Article 224 is operationalized where there is a subsisting basis for the horizontal allocation of the county government's share of nationally raised revenue among counties. Madam Speaker, a consideration of this synopsis of events therefore reveals that with respect to this financial year, we are in a very unique situation where the vertical allocation of counties is ascertainable from the Division of Revenue Act, while the horizontal allocation determined by the County Allocation of Revenue Bill is yet to be ascertained, as it depended upon the resolution of the Senate under Article 217 of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the budget-making process and allocation of revenue between the two levels of government is not merely an academic exercise. At the heart of the public governance is the delivery of public service. The efficient and effective delivery of public services is dependent on resources. The delay in passage of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill not only represents a delay in the transfer of funds to county governments, but is likely to result in the crippling of services at the county level of government. We are almost at the end of the first quarter of this financial year, and no transfer has been made to county governments. A delay in the determination of allocations due to county governments will ex ante cause disruption in the budget-making process for county governments and ex post affect the effective implementation of the budget. These two scenarios therefore beg the question whether county governments have a remedy within the law that would allow limited access to their share of the nationally raised revenue. I would like to first call your attention to the provisions of Section 134(1) and 2 of the Public Finance Management Act, which provides if the county appropriation bill for a financial year has not been assented to or is likely to be assented to by the beginning of a financial year, a county assembly may authorize the withdrawal of money from the county revenue fund. Money withdrawn under the subsection 1A may be used only for the purpose of meeting expenditure necessary to carry the services of the county governments during the financial year concerned until such a time as the relevant appropriation law is passed. And B, may not exceed in total one half of the amount included in the estimates of the expenditures submitted to the county assembly for that year. So, Madam Speaker, The provisions of Section 134 of the Public Finance Management Act, however, contemplate that option of votes on account would arise where the Division of Revenue Bill and the County Allocation of Revenue Bill have been passed, and for whatever reason, a county assembly has not passed an appropriation bill. This section, the section does not contemplate the present situation where the County Allocation of Revenue Bill has not been passed and national revenue has not been divided among counties. So, Madam Speaker, perhaps the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act, county governments, regulations, would provide a clearer way forward. Regulation 134 of the Public Finance Management Act, national government regulations, provides this way: that for equitable transfer before approval of county allocation of revenue bill, if the county allocation of revenue bill submitted to Parliament for a financial year has not been approved by the Parliament, or it is not likely to be approved by Parliament by the beginning of the financial year, the Comptroller of Budget may authorize withdrawals of up to 50% from the consolidated fund based on the last county allocation of revenue Act approved by Parliament for the purposes of meeting expenditure of the county governments for the financial year. 2, the authority under paragraph 1 shall seize upon assent of the County Allocation of Revenue Act for the financial year. And 3, the transfer to county governments made under paragraph 1 under this regulation shall form part of the equitable transfer for the financial year. It is prudent to remember that these regulations are made under authority conferred on the Cabinet Secretary under Section 205 of the Public Finance Management Act and under the principles espoused under Article 94(5) of the Constitution. It is my unequivocal position that whereas the principle of Act does not deal directly with the question of transfers in the absence of County Allocation of Revenue Act, the regulations are clear on the remedy available to counties. Madam Speaker, the conundrum we are faced with has been the subject of judicial consideration. In advisory opinion number 3 of 2019, Council of Governors and 47 others versus Attorney General and 6 others, the question of funds transferred to county governments in the event of a delay in the process of enacting Division Revenue Bill was canvassed by the Supreme Court. The following constitutes the court's ruling on the matter. It is therefore our considered opinion, this is a court's ruling, it is therefore considered opinion that should an impasse occur during the failure of the mediation process, occasioned by the lack of concurrence between the two houses over the Division Revenue Bill, the National Assembly shall, for the purpose of meeting the expenditure necessary to carry on the services of county government during that year, until such time as the Division Revenue Act is assented to, authorize the withdrawal of money from the consolidated fund. The money so withdrawn shall be included under separate votes for the several services in respect of which they were withdrawn. It is to be expected that each county assembly would have to readjust their respective budgets and appropriation bills accordingly. This leaves us with a question regarding the percentage to be withdrawn from the consolidated fund. While the withdrawal of money for the purpose of the national government under Article 222 is based on the percentage of the estimates of expenditure for that year, the same method cannot apply to the county government, since the monies do not include the equitable revenue share due to the counties. Logic would require that the percentage of the money to be withdrawn be based on the Division of Revenue Bill. Yet this would be legally untenable, given the fact that the bill is not only the subject matter of a controversy, but is also yet to pass into law. In the circumstances, it is our view that in the event of an impasse, the percentage of the money to be withdrawn be based on the equitable allocation to counties in the Division of Revenue Act of the preceding year, financial year. In keeping with the spirit of Article 222(2)(b) of the Constitution, the money to be withdrawn shall be the 50% of the total equitable share allocated to the counties in the Division of Revenue Act. Madam Speaker, at the outset, let me point out that the Supreme Court advisory opinion relates to the situation where the Division of Revenue Bill has not been enacted. This is distinguishable from the present scenario where the Division of Revenue Act has not been enacted and the county's share has been enacted, and the county's share of nationally raised revenue has been determined. Access to these funds will therefore not be subject to the approval of the National Assembly or be predicated on the passage of an appropriation bill. The global allocation to counties has already been made by the Division of Revenue Act. However, the advisory opinion remains useful for our present purposes as it would have the same net effect that we are trying to achieve. The directions of the court would result in the transfer of 50% of the allocation made to each county government in the immediate preceding financial year. Indeed, the manner in which the court arrived at this conclusion is aligned to my statement today. In considering the question to access of funds by counties during the delay in the enactment of legislation contemplated under Article 218 of the Constitution, the court employed a purposive interpretation of the Constitution. They based their opinion on the overarching principle of continuity in government as set out in Article 222 of the Constitution and espoused in the rulings of the Supreme Court. The court found that a reading of the law whose consequence would be the grinding to a halt of a delivery of services by the county governments would represent a subversion of Article 222 of the Constitution, and yet a constitution cannot subvert itself. There must therefore be a remedy for counties to continue delivering on public services. Madam Speaker, on the premise of the law and facts that I have canvassed above, therefore it is incumbent upon the Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury to implement provisions of Regulation 134 of the Public Finance Management Act, the national government regulations, and further fortified by the ratio decidendi of the court in advisory opinion number 3 of 2019, to transfer to the counties 50% of the allocation made in the County Allocation of Revenue Act 2019. This would ensure that the continuity of the delivery of services by county governments as a means to an end, but also as a means of promoting the principles of devolution as set out in Article 175B of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, I raise this statement because of the misunderstanding, Madam Speaker, and also, Mr. Speaker, just to disabuse the nation of these accusations that come or are targeted to us in the Senate, Madam Speaker. And I know that my colleagues, probably I'll ask, my colleague, the leader of my minority, will add his voice to this as soon as I conclude. But, Speaker, I think it's very clear that we have a duty to do in determining the formula and also in passing CARA. But for this moment, as the counties, it is very difficult for the Senate not to come out in this manner. And we had to do this because you can hear even governors accusing the Senate. And Madam Speaker, you can hear governors saying they are going to grind to a halt. And everybody knows that the Constitution protects that. It cannot happen. And we should not allow it to happen. So we've come out, and I'm going to table this statement and ask that my colleague, the leader minority, adds his voice to this, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Leader of Minority.
Mr. Speaker, I fully concur with the statements made by the Majority Leader, but I just want to add a few matters which the Council of Governors uttered when they made a statement last week, and I was told that they were probably going to issue another statement today. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, in making their statement last week, they made a very atrocious statement. One of the things they said is that they are going to shut down the Senate, disband the Senate, that they are going to file a petition in the court to dissolve the Senate. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask the Council of Governors to read the advisory judgment which arose out of a matter they had filed themselves in the Supreme Court. And I want to say from the floor of this House, there is no provision under the Constitution that you can use to dissolve the Senate. None at all. None at all. What you can dissolve Parliament. And those provisions are contained in Article 261, Sub-Article 5, 6, and 7. And it only arises, Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat just in case the governors continue to make those statements, if Parliament fails to enact any particular legislation within the specified time to enact legislation, it is not about the resolution under Article 271. In making that resolution, 217, we are not enacting legislation at all, and they should be aware of that distinction. In fact, in paragraph 91, the court made this clear. They said this, and I quote, "In this regard, we would have had no hesitation to invoke the provisions of this Article 261 of the Constitution had the Division of Revenue Act been one of the legislations unequivocally or at least tangentially included in the 5th schedule." They said they would have done it if it was one of the bills that are contemplated in the schedule. So I just want to tell them that, it is impossible for them to dissolve the Senate in these particular circumstances. And Article 217 makes it possible for us not to have an impasse, because Article 217, Sub-Article 7, says that when there is no resolution, the previous resolution, and I think it is Senators Okongo Mugeni, Senior Counsel, and I think Senator Faki, pointed this very clearly, that Article 217, Sub-Article 7, says that a resolution under this article that is approved under Clause B shall be binding until a subsequent resolution has been approved. So, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, as far as I'm concerned, there is no constitutional crisis, there is no impasse, and the Cabinet Secretary to the Treasury has the legal instruments, both on account of these constitutional provisions and on account of those provisions that have been cited by the majority leader. The second thing which the governors uttered, which were completely uncalled for and atrocious, and had a statement where they were saying that, the senators are extortionists. They said, and I heard, that the Senate, we are extortionists. Now, Mr. Speaker, if you take any newspaper on a daily basis on matters relating to Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, you are more likely to find a governor on the first pages of the newspaper than you'll find a senator. Even today's newspaper, I don't see a picture of a senator here. It is all governors. It's all governors. And this has not occurred because it has just happened. It's because somebody has gone and made a complaint. I would advise the governors to go to Integrity House and make a report that on such and such a day there was a senator who asked me for a bribe or I witnessed an event of extortion. But this kind of wild statements, this kind of sensational statements as shameless and uncalled for. In fact, I would have thought the Council of Governors would sit together and said, we are an endangered species. What do we do in order to survive? Because at this rate, they are likely not to survive. Just on the newspaper alone, there are 8 of them. And I don't see a single senator. Whenever you see the Senate on the first page, it is on something else which is political and not, yeah. So this is a statement that should not have come from the governors at all. And Madam Speaker, finally, I would want to say this on this issue, which is very important as far as I am concerned, that Madam Speaker, the governors, and I've got a lot of respect for many of governors, so many of them are my friends. If those who attended the burial of Governor Laboso in the middle of contention of how much money should go to the counties, it was the governor, the chairman of the Council of Governors, who is my party leader, who said 316 million is enough. What are we complaining about? What are we complaining about? It is them at a meeting with the executive who said that 316 billion shillings is enough. When we were struggling to make sure that we get what the counties deserve, and they refused. In fact, if governors knew their work in the county, they should have supported the Senate to the hilt. But now they want the money. They want the money. They want not only this money that they are being given by Parliament, they want the COVID money also. They want the box. Yeah, they want the box. But they don't want oversight. They don't want to account. What type of people are these? Woe unto them! And Madam Speaker, you know there's an article in the Constitution, Article 104, where you can recall a member of Parliament. I am very proud to say that for these 10 years, I have not heard of any constituency where members of a particular constituency are calling for a recall of a member of the Senate. Not even once. But if you want to go by the number of impeachment motions that are waiting or have been posted, there are so many that I don't think we have even the capacity to deal with all of them, if at all they land here. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker, I want to say that the governors should live up to the mandate and the job they were given. If they want money, they must be oversighted. If they think there's a crime committed by senators, they should go to Integrity House or Vigilant House or Uko Karibu na Karura Forest. They make a complaint. We are not above the law, but it cannot be an excuse for them to run away from oversight and audit by institutions of government. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senators, Senate members, honorable senators. I am guided by the resolution of the House Business Committee today that we will take only those two statements, that statement under 52.2, and it will not attract any debate for now. I think on Thursday when we come together, we will really dispose some of the things that we have. So I'm saying this because I have seen a number of requests, and I wanted to mention that we will move, therefore, to the next order. Thank you. Next order. The next statement is under Standing Order 47-1. And I will start with the statement from Alice Milko. Honorable Senators, I also want to say that we have a big number of statements today, and I'm going to beg for your indulgence that for statements under 47.1, we will only allow 2 interventions, and when it comes to statements under 48.1, which are statements that must go to the committees, let us make sure that every member is given a chance to... Senator, can you take your seat first? Please, take your seat.
Madam Speaker, help me so that my voice can be heard.
From Senator here, but please don't take take your seat. I didn't want 2 members standing at the same time. Senator Mohammed. Give him the mic, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm sorry to say this, but you know, on a matter of that importance, on a matter which the whole country is waiting for funds to the counties, a statement was issued by the leader majority in this House. You ruled that the Senate Business Committee this morning decided nobody should contribute. In fact, on other statements which are very trivial, you allow half 15 minutes to be done. Madam Speaker, is it in order for the chair to gag the Senate?
On the same? Yes, Senator Juriat? Yeah.
Madam Speaker, we want to humbly plead with you that this is a very important statement that has been issued by the leader of majority. The character and conduct of Senate is on trial. You've heard what governors have said. You've heard what cabinet ministers have said. The least that members of this House can do is to at least show up support and speak to the issues that have been canvassed by our leadership. So to offer an opportunity to leader of majority and minority only and deny us the chance to prosecute our issues is not fair, Madam Speaker. We want to humbly plead with you that you kindly find it within you to allow us, even if it is only 3 minutes per senator, to speak on this matter, because it's extremely important. Many of us are going to public functions of the weekend, and the governors are telling people, if there's no medicine in this hospital, kindly ask your senator. They haven't provided the funding. It's a very important issue, Madam Speaker.
Point taken, Senator Kinyua. He's also on a point of order, Senator Gerard Gay. Allow Senator Kinyua to say...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a former chair devolution, Mr. Speaker, and the counties... Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important matter, and it's concerning our counties. Mr. Speaker, all statements that will follow are important, but the issue of money going to the county is very important, Mr. Speaker. And everybody is saying that the Senate are failing in their duties. That's why the services to the county are almost grinding to a halt. If we don't speak about this matter now, Mr. Speaker, we'll be failing in our duties. And I would urge you, Madam Speaker.
Point taken, Senator Gerard Gay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I think this matter of national gravity should be taken with seriousness deserved. Madam Speaker, for your information, the Council of Governors sat today in their extraordinary summit today, and they did discuss this House, alleging that the lack of funds, and they have said even devolution is under attack. Yet we cannot be able to converse on the floor of the House so that Kenyans can understand where the truth is. Madam Speaker, I beg of you, give us an opportunity of even 2 to 3 minutes to converse on this issue so that Kenyans can understand and know the truth. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to join my colleagues to urge you, Madam Speaker, that you give the senators an opportunity to converse this matter. For one reason, Madam Speaker. Last week, you had the Council of Governors purporting to give directions to this Senate, purporting to say that they have capacity to order the closure of the Senate. Madam Speaker, this institution is under attack, and we have a duty and a responsibility to safeguard the interests of counties, not the interests of individual governors, Madam Speaker. Give us an opportunity to ventilate on this matter, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Matsitsa Naomi Shionga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll add my voice to my colleagues. Madam Speaker, it is very absurd when governors have extraordinary sittings to discuss about the Senate, and the Senate, in response, gives only an opportunity to 2 people. It is my urge that if you give us also an opportunity to defend ourselves, because the matter that is affecting the counties affect us too. And if at all they are there to go and proclaim outside there that we are holding at ransom the government of Kenya, everywhere they are saying that we are the ones holding the money. We need to defend this Senate. We need to defend our interests. We need to defend our name as a Senate. Madam Speaker, give us a chance. Give us a signal, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
I think I need to rule on this one, senators, because from where I sit, a speaker is only guided. And in the guidance that we got from this statement, the statement was read under 52.2. And a statement under 52.2 has no debate. It has no debate. And as we said, we don't want to use standing order number 1 at this stage, because we know we are going to come back on Thursday to discuss our matters. On Thursday, I'm informed that on Thursday there's going to be a meeting for dialogue between the 2 groups so that we see whether we can zero in. I think the leader, honorable senators, I think the leader of majority has done justice to this. The leader of minority has done justice to this. I want to plead with senators that we leave it at that. The governors have had us, the executive have had us, and we are going to have opportunities through the other statements to be able to throw in 1 or 2. So please, let's leave it at that. There is no debate on this one. Thank you. Next order is on statements 47-1, and I had moved on to Senator Milgo Alice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on appointment of Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve Nima as co-chair of International Parliamentary Network for Education. Honorable Speaker, I congratulate Senator Dr. Gertrude Musuruve for this appointment to the IPNET. The International Parliamentary Network for Education seeks to realize the goals of SDG number 4. Honorable Speaker, in 2015, the international community committed to include a call on education, SDG number 4, among the 17 sustainable development goals to be achieved by 2030, and commitment was to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Honorable Speaker, Senator Musuruve's appointment comes at an opportune time when we are all grappling with the effects of COVID-19. Education of all children in Kenya and worldwide is affected negatively by the advent of COVID-19. Even though this is the case for every child in the education sector, children with disabilities and other marginalized communities are the most hit by this virus. IPNET seeks to ensure that the needs of the child are farthest behind are met first. Honorable Speaker, although education is meant to be a socio-economic equalizer for all children, with time, the academic achievement of children with disabilities and marginalized children have been moved many uncountable steps backward during this COVID-19 period. The case of Kenya, which, with regard to recreation in education for children with disability and marginalized children, is indeed the case for other African countries. Honorable Speaker, we are 10 years away from 2030, and the promised commitment to secure education for all children by the year 2020 is at great risk nationally and internationally, and IBNET support for collective action and advocacy by parliamentarians working together on education reforms will help in realizing SDG 4. Senator Dr. Musuruve is an active member of the Standing Committee on Education. Her commitment on issues of learners with disabilities and marginalized children is encouraging. She has written and published and distributed books on sign language using her own resources, and her innate desire to contribute on matters of education is overwhelmingly pleasant. Honorable Speaker, as one of us, I'm certain that Senator Dr. Musuruve is capable of pushing the interests of the African child and our agenda as a country in support of education of the vulnerable child who are at great risk of rising out on education. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting also that Senator Musuruve was once the Vice Chair of National Council of Nomadic Education in Kenya. Apart from being a PWD representative in the Senate, she has taught in a special school during her lifetime as a teacher, where she interacted with PWDs and feels their pinch and need. Madam Speaker, another keynote issue that cannot be ignored is that Senator Dr. Musuruve has academic qualifications in special needs education, masters in applied linguistics with a bias in sign language, a PhD in mass communication with a bias in media portrayed on PWDs. And with all these experiences, I believe that Senator Dr. Musuruve is equal to the task. More importantly, she's also a very active member of Education Committee, and she plays a very important role in contributing to issues that have been affecting education in this country. And I call upon all of my colleagues to give her the support she may need in realizing a new assignment. It is not about her, but Kenya at the international level, pushing inclusion of vulnerable children worldwide and closing the disparity in education. Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I can just add one statement, that this position, where Senator Musuruve has been given to be a co-chair, IBNET, and the National Parliamentary Network for Education, is actually what our recognition based on the fact that the problems that we have been having in education has actually affected very many children, particularly marginalized, and especially now that COVID-19 is around, most children are at home, and most hit are the marginalized children. And in this case, for one of us, particularly being not only being a PWD, she's also a woman, I think we as gender, or as ladies, in this case, feel that we were greatly honored. And in this case, I wish to actually congratulate Senator Musuruve for this great appointment. And I am sure sooner than later we are going to start IBNET Kenya, so that we ensure that Sustainable Development 4, which speak to issues of not leaving anyone behind in terms of education, will be able to deal with it very well. Otherwise, congratulations once again, Senator Dr. Musuruve, and thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Two senators to contribute, Senator Sakaja, Johnson, Ada, and Senator Matsitsa, Naomi Shionga.
Madam Speaker, very briefly, because I see we have a lot of business before the House, and there are three other statements, 47-1 and 48-1, where we resolved no comments. I just want to join Senator Dr. Milgo, as well as the rest of this House, in congratulating Dr. Musuruve. She is a serious champion for the people she represents in this House, who are people living with disability. She has distinguished herself. I have chaired, or rather she's been in committees that I've chaired in this House since we came here. And no matter what you discuss, even if you're discussing agriculture, she has to say persons with disability. If you discuss water, anything, she always has to, and that is a true champion and the true essence of the current structure of representation, where we have people who represent special interests. Madam Speaker, the International Parliamentary Network on Education is extremely important, and I know they will benefit richly from Dr. Musuruve especially because of what she's been pushing with respect to sign language, with respect to deaf learning and special learning for children with disabilities. It's a huge challenge in this country. We have children with even mental health issues or mental disabilities, autism. They don't have enough facilities. I've toured a number in Nairobi and they need assistance. Madam Speaker, I am happy to note that we shall have a champion who is going to be there. I have confidence in her. I was very sad when she was removed from my committee, and I know she's also sad to not be in my committee. But Madam Speaker, I am very confident that we indeed have a shining star representing this House and this country in this very important network. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Masitsa Naomi Shionga.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, again for giving me this opportunity to join my colleague on the statement on congratulating Senator Musurube on the new appointment. Indeed, I'm proud as a woman. Indeed, I'm a proud senator, and I'm a proud senator who comes from the same region with Senator Musurube. Madam Speaker, I want to say a big congratulations to this well-achieved appointment that Senator Musurube has gotten. Being an international appointment to co-chair an international opportunity, it is not easy. But for what Senator Musurube has done, it is worthy her getting this appointment. Madam Speaker, I want to say that Senator Musurube, as my colleague has said, Senator Sakaja, as much as he's becoming sad, I'm a proud chair that Senator Musurube has joined my committee of equal opportunity. And without Senator Musurube, sometimes I feel like there's something missing. But she has always shown that she's capable, and that shows that wherever she's put, she's able to do the much he's acquainted to do. Senator Musurube, I want to urge you that as you take this challenge, it is a good one because you have been an able lecturer in the university, and you are. You have been a good example to us as women, and we see it. You are as a champion that many of us, as a sister, we are seeing it being done here. Many of the statements, petitions, and bills that are brought in this House, they are always supported by Senator Musurube. And I want to say that, go sister, go senator, go for it. You are really championing us, and we are proud of you. The education field is big, it's worth you, and we are proud of this appointment. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations, Senator Musurube.
Thank you. I'll give Senator Ali, being the chair of Senator Musurube.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the time you've given me. I want to thank my vice chair, Senator Musurube. She's my vice chair in the Committee of Tourism, and she is an excellent lady, professor, Daktari, very capable. As Honorable Sakaja said, she will never miss a word to say in anything which we discuss. And I like that energy. Keep it up, and I wish you well in your new position and new endeavor. Thank you very much.
1 minute, Senator Faria. 1 minute, please, so that we allow us another 1 minute only for Musurube to respond.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I also wish to join my colleagues in congratulating Senator Musurube. Senator Musurube, like everybody has said, if you bring something on procurement, where is disability? If you bring this other issue, where is disability? So, you know, in life, you cannot expect to do things the same way and expect a different result. Senator Musurube has proven that you can do something exceedingly well and get reward for it like the way she has done. Madam Speaker, because you just gave me 1 minute, I want to respect that I just stick to that 1 minute, and I wish to congratulate her for this position, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Musurube. Can you receive the congratulations in only 1 minute? Microphone, please. Give her the microphone. Okay. How about the neighboring one? Try the next one. Okay, there's a mobile one coming there, Musurube. Senator, it's coming there. Okay. Come, let's see if that one is working. Then there is a problem. You'll still use mobile when you're there.
Honorable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues for really supporting me for this position. And I want to say that I'm truly, truly humbled that I've been picked to serve humanity. And I want to say that it is not by mistake that I have a disability. It was actually designed by God, and I appreciate it the way God allowed it. And it is my prayer that God may use me as He intends to. And Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you so, so very much for being supportive in this initiative. And I want to let colleagues know very well that Senator Professor Kamal was actually earmarked for this particular position from the embassy. And they looked at her, they looked at me, they looked at the disability issue, and that is how I was brought on board. And I want to say that I actually opened up to Professor, and she is supporting me in this initiative. And we'll be launching the global, we will be having the event, the global event on the 14th of this month. And I want to say that the Senate of Kenya is truly represented. Our Speaker is one of the interventionists. And I want to thank all the parliamentarians. Senator Mwaura has signed the declaration. Senator Shionga has signed the declaration. I have our chair, Dr. Milko, has signed the declaration. organization. The pros and
I was coming in, or
Madam Speaker, I have very little capacity on this one.
Yeah,
I wanted to speak on the next one by
it may
Senator
have been
Abshiro.
the previous one.
Yeah, this
okay,
one is
the
difficult.
next statement is from Senator Abshiro Halake.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 47-1, I rise to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern, namely imposition of VAT on clean and renewable energy products in our country. Madam Speaker, on the 23rd of June 2020, the Finance Bill 2020, which sought to amend various laws relating to taxation, proposed an amendment to the Value-Added Tax Act of 2013 and introduced VAT on equipment used for the development and generation of solar, wind, and hydro energies. This law has subsequently been assented, this bill has been subsequently assented into law. On receiving the presidential assent, the bill imposed a 14% VAT to supply or importation of specialized equipment for the development and generation of solar, wind energy, and including deep cycle batteries, hydro energy, as well as clean cook stoves. Madam Speaker, taxation of clean energy or renewable energy will have far-reaching consequences, as it will not only increase the tax burden for the poor and marginally, but also act as impediment to national development. Madam Speaker, this undermines Kenya's ability to reach the national objectives of universal electrification by 2022, which will be impossible to realize with the introduction of the taxes, and most so the elements of the Big Four agenda, which is affordable housing, food security, manufacturing, and universal healthcare, which will be difficult to realize without energy in hard-to-reach places. And Madam Speaker, it should be noted that clean energy, wind energy, solar energy, clean cook stoves are used mostly and in areas such as where we come from, in northern Kenya, in Isiolo, for instance, and Marsabit, where there's plenty of wind, plenty of solar, and other clean energy. According to the 2019 census, Madam Speaker, solar lighting in Kenya averages 19.3%, with rural areas connectivity of 29%, higher than the rural national grid connections that stood at 26%. So, Madam Speaker, clean energy and renewable energy is actually rural-facing, so to speak. The imposition of VAT on solar equipment and batteries will make them more expensive. They already are more expensive, Madam Speaker, as we speak. A price increase of 14% would lead to 17.5% fall in their demand, and a reduction in demand will wipe out thousands of jobs in the solar and renewable energy value chains. The decentralization of the energy sector, according to the Power for All Organizations 2019 study, shows that the sector created over 10,000 direct jobs and 65,000 jobs in the communities they serve. The introduction of taxes in the sector will not only constrict its growth, but also result in job losses as companies adjust to the increased cost of doing business as a result of the taxes, which will negatively affect not just employment, but also access to the poorest of households, Madam Speaker. Kenya has a noble and achievable electrification goals, and the next 2 years will be the most critical of the country to achieve them. The main priority for the government should be to focus on securing energy for all Kenyans everywhere. Imposing VAT on solar and renewable energy generation equipment is not aligned to these electrification goals and actually is punitive to the poor households in this country, Madam Speaker. The responsibility therefore lies in the House to ensure that Kenyans, the economy and the development objectives of this country are protected through ensuring the imposition of the VAT on renewable energy product is reversed, and therefore more access is made. And actually, Madam Speaker, we have no business investing in fossil fuels at this time when everybody is actually shifting to renewable energy, but we're going back and starting to put barriers, tariff barriers or VAT barriers, taxation barriers on clean energy as we speak, Madam Speaker. I therefore urge and recommend that the initial VAT exemptions on equipment used for development and generation of solar, wind energy be retained, and because, Madam Speaker, this is this has happened midway through before the, I think it was up to 2022 that we had the exemptions, but before even the expiry of the exemption period, something else has been, the VAT has now been imposed. Madam Speaker, that creates an environment in which nobody even knows what to do because the taxation just came out of blues. We know that there's revenue collapse, Madam Speaker, but we need to make sure that people know what to expect from our taxation policies, Madam Speaker. There's no justifiable reason to impose the new taxes on renewable energy equipment and products, as it will have adverse effect on the society and economy, both in the short and long terms, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know this is a statement under 47.1, but if you would be so advised or would be so persuaded, I would really, and be so kind, I would really be appreciative if this is really given to the Finance Committee to actually deal with this with our National Treasury and ask why at this point in time we're going back on our renewable energies, which actually are being used by our poorest household. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Nyamunga Rose Ogendo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity just to make a statement on this. I mean, just to add some points on the statement by Senator Abshiro. Madam Speaker, I think Kenya is one of the nations or countries that is overly taxed. I was looking at the dailies this week, and I think from last week, and looking at the number of people that are called the super rich in this country. Madam Speaker, there are only 40 Kenyans who are called, I think, in the super multi-billionaires, only 40. And there are 2,900 who are in the next level. And looking at the percentage of the population of this country, we have only 3% that you call rich. The rest of Kenyans are struggling. So it has been a big problem for most of us and most of women who stand for the interests of women in this country. Looking at the green energy, And in my county, in Kisumu County, we've been struggling to get women to use gas for cooking. So how can we on earth add another 40% as a tax on green energy? I don't even have words to speak to this issue, Madam Speaker. It is a terrible thing, and I would urge the Senator to forward this to the Committee of Finance, which I'm a member of. And we are going to push this thing to wherever we can reach, even if it means going to the Treasury or any other. There is no way the nation of Kenya or the government of Kenya can add any more percentage as in form of tax on green energy, because we need to be clean in terms of health. Because when we talk of clean energy, we are talking of the women. We are talking of the suffering of the children. And we are talking of the sustainability of our forests. So we cannot be talking about these things and at the same time looking at how we can tax. It is unfortunate. We want to go to the depth of this matter, and we want to urge the government that there is no way that they are going to add any tax to green energy in this country. I support the statement, Madam Speaker.
Senator Sakaja Johnson, other.
Madam Speaker, it is quite unfortunate that on such a matter, the Senate is constrained because really it is a matter to deal with tax-raising measures. But Madam Speaker, if you look at Standing Order 224, it is possible for you, because these are very important issues, for you to, as requested by Senator Abshiro, for you to actually recommend that the Committee of Finance jointly sits with the corresponding committee in the National Assembly to look at this issue. This issue is affecting not just Senator Abshiro, the area where you've called where you were born, your areas, but even in the urban areas. Madam Speaker, a lot of renewable energy is becoming the go-to because of the strain on, the grid that we have, Madam Speaker. There's a lot of pressure on the national grid, and urban dwellers are now focusing on alternative forms of urban energy, including the clean stoves, including solar for heating. Madam Speaker, we had the solar heating regulations on the Energy Regulations 2012 that spurred the growth of solar in this country, and that's something we're really proud of, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the last government of President Mwai Kibaki and the beginning of this government really led the growth of renewable energy in this country. And what we're seeing is a disconnect between policy and policy that is long-term with short-term measures in the finance bill. Madam Speaker, people put their money where their mouth is. And so it is easy to talk from one end of the mouth saying we're supporting renewable energy, yet you're taxing each and every component in renewable energy, and so we will see further losses. Madam Speaker, we have invested a lot of money in the Turkana wind power project, Madam Speaker, in our geothermal projects, in a lot of efforts on wind and other renewable forms, that this country is hailed across the world as being a leader in renewable energy. If this tax is not dealt with, then that will disappear. Madam Speaker, Senator Kithure Kindiki will tell you that the Constitution says that international treaties form part of our law. Kenya is a signatory to the Paris Agreement. And the Paris Agreement, Madam Speaker, pushes for reduction of carbon emissions, and we've committed to it. It pushes to accelerating global efforts towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and this law goes contrary to our, our commitments under the Paris Agreement. Madam Speaker, the Kenya Renewable Energy Association projects 20% increased demand as we move forward for solar and for other renewable sources, yet we're making it further out of reach. So, Madam Speaker, I will urge that, and I'm glad I heard the Leader of Majority in the National Assembly in a burst of wisdom, proposing that both houses need to relook at our standing orders to provide for co-sponsoring of legislation or even motions, such that such a motion or such a statement, before we're told it's a money bill or it's not within the purview of the Senate, Senator Abshiro would very easily be able to get someone from the other house, and they can be able to co-sponsor legislative interventions so that we do not go into the hurdles and that we normally face when we deal with very good legislation here that is curtailed by our neighbors, Madam Speaker. So I would urge that you recommend the Finance Committee to sit jointly with the Finance Committee of the National Assembly to look at this issue as a matter of urgency. I have hundreds and thousands of people of Nairobi who depend on renewable energy, especially in the low and the informal settlements, who have already been adversely affected by this tax introduction in the 2020 Finance Bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kasanga Sylvia Mwene.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to speak on this statement of Senator Halake. And thank you so much, Senator, for bringing this up. I didn't even have this, I had not heard about it before. And thank you for your passion in conservation of the environment. Indeed, you're missed in the Lands Committee. Just the other day in a Lands Committee meeting, the Minister of Environment was crying how, as a House of Legislation, we should be trying to push for more and more legislation that can change the mindsets of Kenyans towards their agricultural practices and their normal practices when it comes to the environment, because of how far we are depleting the environment and even some of our great resources, like the salt in, how can I not remember? We are depleting our resources, generally, environment, because, yes, exactly, Magadi salt is already affected by siltation because of our practices. And to hear that our renewable energy, the gains that we have so far gained on renewable energy are likely to be reduced by imposition of taxes is really a retrogressive move. In fact, you wonder, when they sit down, whoever they are, that make these decisions, what are they thinking? At a time when a country, we have our youth already aligning into these fields of renewable energy. Already we have our universities have set up programs for our youth so that they can tap into this market that has become a global market. The whole world is going into renewable energy. Why are we taking a step back? Senator, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I support this statement, and indeed, Madam Senator, do make a ruling that this issue can be sorted as soon as possible. Thank you.
Senator Ali Abdullahi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to support the statement by Senator Halake. I will not talk more about what others have said, Madam Speaker. The world over, before the renewable energy was very expensive. Now, when it has come down, if we increase our VAT, then we are going back to the same place. That means that we don't want renewable energy to be the mainstay of this country, where we have the resources, we have the winds, we have the geothermal, we have the solar, the sun, but we want to go back to petroleum products, and we want to go back to fuel, which is very dangerous to the world all over. And I think we will urge the concerned authorities not to do what they are doing. And as Senator Sakaja said, we might not have the authority to go for it, but we have the mandate to fight as a Senate, and we will follow it up, and whoever is concerned should do what should be done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Lokorio Betonila. 1 minute, please. Yes. We need to wind up that statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will take exactly 1 minute. I'm a lady of few words. Madam Speaker, my issue is only on the fact that we are signatories as a country to the Sustainable Development Goals, which was an improvement from the Millennium Development Goals, because we thought that we needed to develop our countries or develop ourselves with the future in mind, so that we preserve the environment for our children and our grandchildren. So to put 40% tax on green energy, which is actually a step in the right direction of preserving the environment, is an insult to that signature we put internationally to the SDGs. Madam Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues to ask for your magnanimity in putting this statement to the relevant committee so that this matter can be discussed effectively. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. 1 minute, Senator Haji Faria Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am, some of these things is shocking, because actually what we should be doing, we should have policies that encourage renewable energy. Madam Speaker, industrialization is part of President Uhuru's agenda for this country. But if you look at these incentives of including 14% VAT for renewable energy, Madam Speaker, is making energy more expensive. Because if you go back to the use of fossil energy, that means you are making electricity much more expensive. And if you make electricity much more expensive, then you are curtailing the development of industries in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other thing is counties like Wajir, most of our boreholes rely on solar energy to bring water out of for boreholes. And Madam Speaker, if you increase if you add VAT, 14% VAT on those, Madam Speaker is telling us that we cannot get water. Already we have water scarcity in our county, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other issue is around, this will also impact innovation, Madam Speaker, because there is a lot of youth who are innovating around renewable energy. And Madam Speaker, given that it's also creating employment, Madam Speaker, and we have a very, even with COVID being in place, Madam Speaker, unemployment has also increased, Madam Speaker. And for this to be, and it is self-defeating. The more you create industries, the more you will be able to generate revenue from the sales of those. And now if you make the input expensive, that means you are making, that means then just give me one more minute, Madam Speaker, so that I can conclude. So, Madam Speaker, the other issue is around what we should be doing as a country. We should create an incentive to incentivize people who are developing a renewable energy because of it's friendly to environment, and then how it is cheap because it is in abundance, like solar energy. God has given us that in some part of this country. So, Madam Speaker, even in my own county, like the other day I said in this house, we don't have electricity. 50 years down the line, we rely on generators that are not reliable. And like 70% of the time, Wajir is in darkness. Madam Speaker, if now we even make solar energy more expensive, then it means that we will be in more darkness, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. Finally, Senator Cherargei Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I agree and support Senator Alake on this statement. And the introduction of value-added tax on renewable energy is unfortunate. The alternative is encouraging that are not friendly, the use of that are not friendly to environment, mostly pollutants. Madam Speaker, across the world, the world is moving towards renewable energy. And when you look at Article 42 of the Constitution, it talks about clean and healthy environment. The only way to ensure there is clean and healthy environment as provided and envisioned by the Constitution under Article 42, Madam Speaker, is when we zero rate and ensure that we encourage Kenyans towards renewable energy. Madam Speaker, for us who grew up in the village, we grew up when the environment was being destroyed, where the mamas could get kunis, and therefore there could a lot of smoke in the kitchen. And yet we want to encourage Kenyans to move in a more renewable, energy-friendly usage, Madam Speaker. So I agree this was unfortunate, and I thought the National Assembly, in their wisdom or lack of it, should have ensured that this matter should not have been given to the President for the assent. I think as a House, we must move forward and ensure the appropriate committee moves and reverse this issue of putting VAT tax. And Madam Speaker, finally, is that we need to encourage, to ensure this renewable energy is used in even generating income for many young people, Madam Speaker. If, for example, the usage of electricity, we need to be working and ensure, for example, northern part of this Kenya, Madam Speaker, we can harness and ensure that we work towards solar energy, which is a renewable energy, and it is friendly to the environment. So, Madam Speaker, I support this statement by Senator Alake and look forward to a more conclusion that will ensure Kenyans do not have to pay VAT on such on renewable energy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senators. Yes, I am persuaded, Senator Bishiro, to refer the statement to the committee of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget. Honorable Senators, the next statements are on Order 48-1, and I'm really going to seek your indulgence because we want to read all of them today. They are 19 in number. I would like to plead that the mover, the statement giver gives the statement and we refer to the committee for those members who are present so that we offload them from our order paper because the order paper is really congested. So the first statement is by Senator Beatrice Kwamboga. An apology has been given. So we move to the second one, which is from the Senator of Kakamega, Senator Clopas Malala. Anybody given that assignment? No. Statement number 3 is from Senator Johnson Sakaja. Johnson Sakaja was right here. Stepped out. Let's move on. We will come back to him. The fourth statement is from Senator Dr. Abdullahi Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry, I have two of them, so I'm getting confused with each other.
It is the one to labor and social welfare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding non-remittance of employee statutory deductions, non-payment of work injury benefits, and other labor-related violations by county governments. In the statement, the committee should respond to the following. 1. What policy or regulatory framework guides county governments on violations on remittances of employee statutory deductions, payment of work injury benefit, and other labor-related violations, including payments to loans, payments of loans, and to SACCO societies. 2. What measures has the government put in place to protect county employees against the above violations? 3. What is the status of WAJIA vis-a-vis remittances of such deductions, particularly PAYE, NHIF, NSSF, and other statutory deductions? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Haji Faria Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to congratulate my senator for Wajir for bringing in this statement. Madam Speaker, Wajir County not only does it not remit those deductions, even the staff allowance, Madam Speaker, for going for trips and stuff like that, Madam Speaker, they are never paid. There is even allegation, Madam Speaker, that staff are told to claim their per diems so that somebody else takes that money, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we fight here among ourselves for allocation of funds to the county, yet, Madam Speaker, there is clear violation of what is meant for the people of the county, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if deductions for that year is not paid to the respective institution, Madam Speaker, I do not understand why even people like KRA do not even freeze those accounts, Madam Speaker, for the county government. Because, Madam Speaker, if not even insurance for the staff, Madam Speaker, the staff of Wajir do not have insurance, Madam Speaker. All the other time, Madam Speaker, we make contributions for medical people who are employees of the county, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, there is a lot of issues in Wajir that needs to be addressed urgently, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I urge the institutions like EACC, DCI, to come to the rescue of the people of Wajir to ensure that the right, accountability is expected of Wajir County, Madam Speaker. Because there are certain things, Madam Speaker, like for example, the SACCO, if you don't contribute, people borrow loans and you don't contribute. How do you expect those SACCOs to survive, Madam Speaker? And some of these SACCOs die because of non-contribution, non-remittance from the county, and people have rightfully contributed to those SACCO society, Madam Speaker. That means, Madam Speaker, even the savings for the people who saved with that SACCO is at risk, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the other day I brought statement, which I am waiting for Education Committee to respond. There is a committee of the county government that was not paid for 23 months, Madam Speaker. And even after they were not paid for those 23 months, Madam Speaker, this committee's tenure has ended, and I had requested that the county government should be stopped from recruiting further until they pay the benefits of the former committee, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, there is a lot of issues that is around Wajir in terms of accountability. And, Madam Speaker, including, Madam Speaker, people's monies are requested from controller of budget to pay certain suppliers, Madam Speaker. And those people are not paid, other people are paid, Madam Speaker. And, Madam Speaker, me sometimes I question the role of controller of budget, Madam Speaker. Because if you cannot take care of certain those malpractices, then why do you exist for approving expenditure if you can't even stop such malpractices? Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator. I said 1 minute each, so we're going to allow 2 people. Senator Boy, Isa, and then we'll move to the next statement. 1 minute, please.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza namshukuru sana Senator Ali kuleta hii statement yake wakati huu ambapo sahihi kuna matatizo mengi sana ya ufisadi ambayo yameingia ndani ya nchi yetu. Kusema la kweli la kusikitisha kuona kwamba wafanyakazi wa Wajir hawapati haki yao na pia kama ile allowance zao pia kulipwa ni shida. Madam Speaker, sahihi tumefika wakati kwamba ufisadi lazima ukomeshwe katika nchi yetu hii. Na haswa huko sehemu za Wajir ni jambo la kusikitisha sana. Yani mfanyakazi hata ile pesa NSSF kulipiwa kama anavyosema Senator Ali pia hazilipiwi. Mfanyakazi pia ambaye anatoka jasho anaenda katika nyanja za chini kwa wale ambapo kuna joto na jua pia hapati haki yake. Madam Speaker, mimi statement hii naunga mkono na sheria ichukuliwe hatua kali sana kwa hii county government ya Wajir. Sheria ichukuliwe mkono na wale ambao wanafanya ufisadi huo basi wasibakishwe. Hao ni watu wabaya sana. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. That statement stands committed to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. The next statement is from Senator Mbito. He's not around. The next one, number 6, is from Senator for Mombasa, Senator Mohamed Faki Munyihaji.
Asante, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise pursuant to Standing Orders number 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Information and Technology regarding the state of affairs at the Postal Corporation of Kenya, PCK. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should explain why the corporation has not paid staff salary for the last 6 months. Number 2, state why the employees' statutory deductions, SACCO contributions, and deductions to financial institutions have not been remitted by the said corporation. And number 3, Madam Speaker, appraise the House on the general state of affairs at PCK, indicating whether the corporation is able to meet its future financial obligations relating to staff salaries and other labor obligations. Madam Speaker, it is very painful that 6 months into the COVID pandemic, the Postal Corporation of Kenya has not paid salaries to its employees throughout the Republic. Madam Speaker, it will be noted that recently the Board of Management renewed the employment contract of the Postmaster General. And it is sad, Madam Speaker, to state that immediately after the renewal, the employees have gone out without salaries for the last 6 months. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Gerald K. Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to congratulate Senator Mohamed Faki for bringing this issue. Madam Speaker, this is a clear violation of labor rights as enshrined in Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya. It is sad that in this day and age, there are government employees in one of the parastatals that have gone for 6 months without pay. It is not only inhuman, it is tragic, it is sad. I can imagine the pain and anguish that their families undergo because their parents cannot buy food, cannot pay rent, cannot have sustainable, especially, Madam Speaker, during this COVID pandemic period. Madam Speaker, it is very sad, and when you see employees, and this issue has been raised for the last 6 months, Madam Speaker, that people do not have. People can work hard, Madam Speaker. Even the Bible encourages us, for us who are Christians, to work for us to be paid. Why is the Postal Corporation of Kenya cannot be able to pay the employees? Yet they have board of management, yet they have leadership in place, they have the board that manages. Madam Speaker, it is so sad, it is painful for the employees of the Postal Corporation in this country, Madam Speaker. Even if, Madam Speaker, the Postal Corporation is not performing as expected, it is the parastatal that should be bailed out by the government of the day. It is not a private entity. Why doesn't the government bail out the Postal Corporation? Or if it cannot possible, then they should privatize, but ensure the interest of employees, Madam Speaker, are catered for. And I think, Madam Speaker, you should not even give 14 days on this issue. By next week, Tuesday, in my own request, Madam Speaker, we should have the progress report by the Labour Committee to tell us the status. And if Postal Corporation of Kenya is making losses, Madam Speaker, they need to also adapt with technology. When you go to the United States of America now, the people are using the Postal Corporation of America to mail their ballot papers to vote. Why is the Kenya Postal Corporation not adapting to the technology and the changes that are coming up, Madam Speaker? So, Madam Speaker, on this issue, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, the people who are trade unionists, who should be championing for the rights of these workers, are busy doing politics of the day. I wish they were busy, Madam Speaker, fighting for the rights of these employees of Postal Corporation, who should be, the union leader should be at the forefront, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is corruption, this is immoral, this is economically unjustifiable. When their children go hungry, when they cannot visit hospital because they don't have money, especially during this COVID pandemic, Madam Speaker. I think as we fight the COVID pandemic, it is unfortunate that this is a pandemic within the Postal Corporation, within this republic. So, Madam Speaker, I hope the minister in charge of ICT, the board management, the CEO of this parastatal, Madam Speaker, and the chairman of the board must come out and tell the country what is really ailing our Postal Corporation. But my appeal to President of the Republic of Kenya, kindly bail out Postal Corporation, but don't only bail out the suppliers and the pending bills. Start with the employees of this Postal Corporation of this country. And because Postal Corporation is very important, when some of us used to write love letters, it is the Postal Corporation that have created marriages in this country. Now people have moved to the SMS and the WhatsApp groups, Madam Speaker. But many families were set up through Postal Corporation because they ensure timely delivery of love letters, and many families have been born out of it. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and look forward to resolving this issue.
I can assure you the love letters are still being written, but now different mode of via different mode of communication. Senator Boy Issa Juma.
Madam Speaker, asante sana kunipa fursa hii. Madam Speaker, haya waliosema Senator Faki na munga mkono ni ya kweli kabisa. Mimi mwenyewe nina ndugu yangu ambaye ni mdogo wangu wa tatu afanya kazi posta. Kila nikienda, huu ni mwezi karibu wa pili, namsaidia, namsimamia, mpaka mwisho namuuliza kani shida iko wapi. Anaambia bro, mimi sijapata pesa paka leo. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, haya maneno nasema ni ya kweli, na kama serikali kweli kama kuna shida kama hii, serikali ni kwa haraka sana itie pesa au isimamie posta iweze kuwasaidia wafanyakazi wake. Hali ya nchi sahihi, Madam Speaker, ni ngumu sana. Kumeingia mambo ya corona. Chakula sahihi ni shida. Mimi mwenyewe pesa ambazo nazozipata zikifika Kwale, nikifika jicho lake linaangalia ataka pesa kwangu mimi. Madam Speaker, wacha pia kusema bara mshahara. Posta yenyewe ina matatizo makubwa. Ofisi kuu ya posta kule Lungalunga, nyumba yake ina karibu kuanguka. Nimepiga kelele karibu mara 2 mara 3 kwamba posta waende warekebishe ile nyumba yao ya Lungalunga, au sivyo wafunge. Watu wanakaumo ndani wanyeshewa na mvua. Hii ni aibu kubwa sana kwa sisi watu wa Kenya. Posta pesa inapata, ikiwa mkurugenzi mkuu wa contract yake imekuwa renew, kwa nini hawawezi kuwalipa wafanyikazi wa posta? Na chama cha wafanyikazi zinaangalia chama cha posta. Mimi nawaambia wakuu wa chama cha wafanyikazi wasimame imara, wapige kelele, wahakikishe kwamba hawa wafanyikazi wa posta wanapata pesa zao. Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono statement hii ya Mheshimiwa Faki, na kwa haraka sana tutaka hapa mpaka mwezi ujao tuone wafanyikazi wa posta wamelipwa. Mimi nachoka. Kakaangu mdogo wangu amefanya posta karibu miaka 10. Sasa hii mimi nikifika Kwale, jambo la kwanza unaangalia na macho, hata sina raha mimi mwenyewe. Mara na sina petroli, wewe usifanya kazi posta kila siku na kusaidia. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, sasa hii kamati kama itachunguza hilo jambo ifanye kwa haraka sana. Na hii bodi ya posta pia sio wakae wapate pesa allowance makubwa kizunguka kwenda Nairobi, si kwenda Takaungu, kwenda wapi. Wahakikishe kwamba wafanyakazi wao wanapata pesa. Sasa hii kuna corona, kuna shida chakula, kuna shida kulipa marenti. Watu paka nyumba wamefukuzwa, Madam Speaker. Hii inakusikitisha kwa Wakenya jamani. Madam Speaker, mimi naunga statement hii ilitoka Mheshimiwa Faki ishughulikiwe kwa haraka sana. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
I see no further request for contribution. I therefore refer this statement to the Committee on Information Technology and Technology. Next statement is by Senator Alice Milgo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the continued destruction by fires of the conservation area around the Tsavo National Park. In the statement, the committee should elucidate on the cause of the frequent fires that have destroyed the conservation area for a long time. 2, outline the measures, if any, that have been put in place to avoid further destruction of the national park by fires, as well as measures that the Kenya Wildlife Service will put in place to respond in a timely manner to mitigate against mass destruction of the conservation area by these fires. And 3, state water and wild animals died as a result of the fires, and whether there are any plans to ensure this does not happen again in future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I will allow a few comments, and we have Senator Ali Abdullah Ibrahim.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is frightening when you see what happens, what you saw happened in Tsavo National Park. Every time, I think it's 2 or 3 times, that every time you see the place burning down, you see animals running up and down, you see people traveling to Mombasa cannot even pass through the road because of the fires. And what surprises us is that even if they are not tourists now, the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has helicopters, has a lot of Kenya Wildlife Service, it has a lot of askaris, it has a lot of resources. Why should these fires be burning every day? And then the wildlife run around into the roads and even make life of other people, seriously. So, Madam Speaker, I think this is a very serious issue. Fires in dry seasons usually burn, yes, but the culprits, if it's caused by human beings, if it is because of those people who invade the national parks, whether they are pastoralists or whether they are poachers or whether they are other people who have other motives or bandits, something should be done, and I think this is something which should be stopped, and the Ministry of Wildlife should tell us really what's going on and what they do with the finances. The issue of COVID and the situation now should not be an excuse, Madam Speaker. These are very serious issues. We have to take care of our wildlife. We have to take care of the people who live there. We have the conservancies, if there are issues, they should be told what's happening. And I support the statement, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Halake Abshiro.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the statement by Senator Milgo on the need to find what is going on at our conservation area of the Savos. Madam Speaker, I have been advocating for community conservation. The Savo National Park is government park. It's a national park. Now, the reason why sometimes we find this disconnect is that the communities living around our national parks are not being accommodated, they are not being used efficiently, and are not benefiting from maybe the conservation area. So, Madam Speaker, I think it's about time our agencies that have the mandate for conserving our national parks came clean, used just not policing, because policing will not work, but used communities around the park to ensure that good conservation, sustainable conservation is undertaken in our national parks. Madam Speaker, it's unfathomable. It's really sad to see that fires are causing untold suffering on our animals. And sometimes people say these animals belong to KWS. The animals do not belong to KWS. The animals belong to all of us. They belong to this country. They belong to the world. They are of national and global importance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think a good solution needs to be found. And from where I sit, wearing a conservation hat, the solution is in community conservation. The solution is ensuring that communities that live around Savo are part and parcel of the conservation of the Savo conservation area. That the communities also benefit as well from that. But I'd like to congratulate the government for recently giving some 2 billion shillings to community conservation, and that is something that we look forward to, and that it will become mainstreamed into the going forward into the budget of this country, that communities that bear the brunt of conservation, communities that host the animals, communities that are part of the landscape are also recognized and are given the compensation they need, and are actually used in the fight against are used at the fight against poaching and fight against the bad consequences of some of the habits around our parks. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support Senator Milgo's statement that we must get to the bottom of this and ensure that our national parks have sustainable conservation at heart, not just policing that you run in and then you run out and you forget that this is a large ecosystem that contains communities as well. I thank you. I'd like to encourage the government to continue investing in the communities around the parks to ensure that we don't see these kinds of wanton destruction of our national parks. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
As we wait for Senator Naomi Wako from the extended chamber, Senator Musuruve, a few minutes to comment on this.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this statement by Senator Dr. Milgo. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that it is really, really a serious thing that the Savo National Park can go on fire. As Kenyans, we have to see how to conserve the Savo National Park for the economic gains that we have from the parks. One of the main economic gains is tourism, because sometimes tourists come to the country just to see the wild animals that are there. So as it brings income to to the community and to the country, we have to see how to conserve the Savo National Park. And even, Honorable Speaker, there's need to really coexist with the animals. Every animate being has value addition in this universe. So we have to see how to ensure that animals are not extinct. And recently in the papers, Honorable Speaker, I just saw information information on the daily newspaper where the giraffes, especially the white giraffes, are now extinct, and we have to see how to ensure that animals are not extinct because of the value addition that they have. And Honorable Speaker, we cannot also forget the fact that even when it comes to employment, our youth are able to get employment as tourist tour guides and so on. And in the event, also hotels are able to get tourists, living, booking accommodation in order to be taken around the country to see animals. So we have to conserve our wildlife, Honorable Speaker, and the government needs to look for mechanisms and ways of ensuring that both wildlife and human beings are able to coexist, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to support this statement.
Senator Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice of support to this very important statement by Dr. Senator Milgo. Madam Speaker, this is something that affects almost many parts of this country, and it is unfortunate that when it happens, we lose a lot as a country. Our animals are affected, the resources around there are definitely affected, and the air is also polluted. So, Madam Speaker, I come from a place that we have a lot of national parks, and we have the wild animals that give us a lot of opportunity and bring in a lot of income. But when it happens, then it affects. And especially what happens to Tsavo National Park is a great loss to us as a nation, putting into consideration that in Australia, there is an animal, there is a certain animal, Masupo, a carnivore, that has been, got extinct because of the fire. So, Madam Speaker, I support the statement and pray that our government will put into consideration the proper plans that can protect our resources so that we don't keep on losing and also the human beings being affected. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next statement is a statement by Senator for Isiolo, Senator Fatuma Dulo. Two statements. You can start with the one on attack by the police, and then we move. Yes, Senator Sakaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just on a point of order, I acknowledge that the chair has changed its occupant. The resolution earlier today in the Senate Business Committee, which Senator Kangata and Senator Dulo can confirm, was that because of the sheer number of these statements, that they're just they're read in terms of title and tabled and referred to the committees, so that we can go on to further business. Madam Speaker, that was the resolution. Senator Kangata can confirm. If you could effect that, then we could be able to go to some of the bills we've been waiting for confirmed to you by the clerks at the table.
Yes, Senator Kangata.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I confirm that is the position, and in particular, there is a bill that we really want to move, the Section of Properties Bill 2019.
Yes, I am aware that that is a position, but I noticed that at least for each statement we've been allowing 2 or so very short comments, so we will reach even that bill on sectional property. So we'll time ourselves accordingly. So Senator Fatuma Dulo, I'll ask you to do your 2 statements so that then we have quick comments.
Okay, I think, Madam Speaker, that was the decision of the House Business Committee, but the chair vacated that position when he was on the chair, and I think that changed everything. But nevertheless, let me just quickly read my statements. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the assault of Isiolo resident county by police officers at a place called Barambate Police Post, Isiolo County. In the statement, the committee should urgently investigate and establish the police officers who assaulted and seriously injured Mr. Mohammed Ulufo at Barambate Police Post, as well as all persons complicit in the incident. Number 2, explain what action has been taken by the National Police Service to address cases of police brutality at the said police post following the assault of Mr. Ulufo. Number 3, state why Mr. Ulufo was denied his right to emergency medical attention despite sustaining severe injuries following the police brutality meted on him. And finally, state when Mr. Ulufo and other victims of police brutality in Isiolo County will be compensated. The second one is, Madam Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources concerning human-wildlife conflict in Isiolo County. In the statement, the committee should explain the circumstances surrounding around which a lion raided a village in Kina Town, Isiolo County, attacking and killing livestock and serious injury to Mr. Galgalo Ali. Number 2, provide an up-to-date report on responses measures by the Kenya Wildlife Service to wildlife attacks in Isiolo County. Number 3, stipulate measures put in place to prevent future cases of human-wildlife conflict in the area. And finally, state when Mr. Galgalo and other victims of human-wildlife conflict will be compensated. I thank you.
I will allow very short comments from just 2, Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to support Senator Dulo on the issue of assault by the police. I think police brutality is becoming a norm in this country. If you don't die by the bullet of an armed robber, you are likely to die by the stray bullet or extra trigger happy of police officers, Madam Speaker. I think, for example, in the last few months, Nandi also bear the biggest brand when the police allegedly killed around 3 people in Lesos area. The other day we saw in Kericho. I think when I was the chair legal, we tried with the former vice chair of national security, Senator Sakaja, to try to address this issue of enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings. I think there is a big problem that we are facing as a country. I wish IG Hilary Mutyambai would have been more faster, the way he has been faster today to condemn leaders who have been making utterances in public rallies. If we had the police that is more proactive and police that is friendly, Madam Speaker will be able, and I hope that that issue of Isiolo County will be resolved. Finally, Madam Speaker, I want to call upon the Independent Policing Oversight Authority that they need to stand firm. They need to investigate. These officers that are assaulting ordinary Kenyans must be brought to book. They are not police officers. I know many good police officers across this country, Madam Speaker. These are criminal elements within the police service, and they are giving police service a bad name that we go to police force. Yes, the Constitution, which is progressive, has created a police service, and it says utumishi kwa wote. Madam Speaker, I support and I hope the Committee on Security, which you are a member, Madam Speaker, will be able to resolve this issue. I hope when we appear before your committee, you will, this time around, kindly be magnanimous with us when we'll be asking hard questions. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now proceed to refer the statements to the relevant committees. I start with a statement by Senator Milgo, which I had not referred to go to the Committee on Lands, Environment and Natural Resources, and refer the Senator Dulo's statement on attack by police to the Committee of National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and the second statement by Senator Dulo also referred to the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. Next statement is by Senator of Lamu. I see you have 2 statements, so I would be asking you to do the 2 at the same time, one after the other.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'll go straight ahead to the first statement, considering I have 2 statements. Statement number 1, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation concerning the status of dock work job opportunities at the Lamu port for the youth in Lamu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the status of interviews conducted by the Kenya Ports Authority for Lamu youths for job advertised by the said authority on 6th November 2019 and whose interviews were carried out in December. That's a lifespan of more than 8 months. Secondly, explain the reason for lack of communication to the applicants for more than 8 months later by the Kenya Ports Authority, particularly those who were successfully following the interviews and whether there are any intentions to do so. Thirdly, state plans, if any, by the ministry to absorb various youths from Lamu to work in the said port, both as manual laborers and as professionals, according to their qualification. And lastly, outline the government position in relation to the continued construction of the port, putting into consideration the fact that there has been a reduction in the financial year 2020-2021 budgetary allocation that was meant to fast-track the construction of the port. On the second statement, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations concerning the killings of chiefs, police officers, and community volunteers in Lamu East constituency, Lamu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain steps the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has taken, if any, to bring to book the killers of chiefs, police officers, and community volunteers, as well as enhance security in Lamu County. Secondly, explain what measures the ministry is putting in place to ensure that the committee embraces community policing, to ensure that locals relay any information that would help avert such killings. And lastly, outline measures, if any, that the ministry has put in place to ensure that families have lost their breadwinners, such as brutal killings, are safe, justice is served, and that they are fully compensated. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very short comments, please, because we are short in terms of time and we still have some work. So I'll allow Senator Musuruve just very short comments. Either of the statements.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to support this statement from Senator Anwar. And I want to say that Senator Anwar has brought an issue on the floor of this House that is really, really important. I remember at one point the local content bill was brought to the floor of this House, and the proposition of the local content bill was that the locals should also have a percentage with regard to the industries that are there in the various counties. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that indeed, when it comes to dock work job opportunities, they should actually benefit the people of Lamu County, and especially when it comes to issues of the youth. You'll find that many youths are idle, they do not know what to do, they lack jobs, but there's need for county governments to ensure, and it should not be an issue of Lamu County only. In all the counties, there's need for county governments to ensure that any opportunity that comes on board in the counties, they give opportunity also to the use of those counties. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that even when counties are giving opportunities to youths, let them also know that we have youths with disabilities who also need to be given an opportunity to work. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that this is a very valid statement that should not be taken lightly at all, Honorable Speaker, and I believe that the relevant committee will work with speed and ensure that the prayers of Senator Lamu are actually considered. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.